still talk. I still talk even though. Oh my gosh. Hello, everybody. How you doing? Oh my gosh. Welcome, everyone. Happy Martin Luther King Day to everybody. Happy Martin Luther King Day. How y'all doing? Let's see. Are you guys, y'all up on today? Today is Inauguration Day, but most important today is Martin Luther King Day. And we are going to honor Martin Luther King Day by talking about the inauguration. For me, I was just saying before I went live today how sad I was today. I have to connect with the level of sadness that I have. And hey, everybody out there, Elizabeth, Nicole, Sharif, I see y'all, Miss Extraordinary. Did y'all see the inauguration today? Could you see it? Could you sit through it? If you did, write in the chat how y'all feel. Those of you guys who saw the inauguration or bits and pieces of it. Lawrence, I am so sad because I really do not like where we're going as a country. It goes against everything that I am all about, Lawrence, as a social worker, as a mother, as a Black person, as a woman, as a concerned citizen of this here United States of America, as a wife, as a daughter, as an advocate for the marginalized and oppressed groups, as someone who honors those who are different, honors and respects difference and diversity, holds up all of the values of the social work profession. What we saw today is the antithesis of everything that I'm about. And it was awfully sad to look at it today. So Lawrence, that's the reason why I'm sad. But y'all, we're going to talk about it today. And hopefully I'm going to try to end on a positive note today. Yes, it was a snoozer, but there were some interesting things in there that we're going to talk about. So I just want to welcome everybody to today's video on Mental Health Monday. And the title of our topic today is A Duty to Warn, a critical conversation ahead of Trump's presidency. It is not ahead of Trump's presidency anymore. Donald Trump is our sworn in president of these here United States of America. And we're going to talk about this today, but I'm also going to talk about the mounting number of clinicians, mental health workers, and therapists all across the country and abroad who have grave concerns about some of the mental health issues and cognitive delays that we are seeing not only in our president, but also in a lot of his cabinet picks, which we'll talk about today. We're going to talk about that. And I got two people here who are also professionals and experts. Y'all, experts in mental health. We have here, right here, Dr. Chris. Dr. Chris has 2 PhDs. So she's got 2 PhDs. And among the 3 of us, you got 4 doctorate degrees. And I'm sorry, I love knowledge. I love education. There is a such thing as real. There is a such thing as the truth. And so I got Dr. Chris here today to help us, help me. She's gonna be my therapist for today to help me in processing my sadness. I do have a sense of sadness today. I also have right here below me, he's my neighbor at my university. I have Dr. Buster Abwagu. He's the policy instructor and he is an expert in history. He knows all about history. So we're going to lean on him and his expertise of history and policy. He's also an expert in mental health. So he's the main person that could really, really drill a lot of this stuff in today. Welcome, Dr. Chris. Welcome, Dr. Buster.
Thank you. Thank you and welcome everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Happy to hear from you all.
So I'm welcoming you guys back. This is an ongoing conversation. We're going to have a lot of material. I suspect a lot of material to talk about. But first, before we get into our duty to warn, give us a basic reflection of what you were able to watch and what you were able to digest today with the inauguration today. Reflections from today's inauguration of Donald Trump. We'll start with you, Dr. Buster. Tell us What are some of the things that you're seeing, and what are some of the things that you're feeling and thinking about today's inauguration?
Thank you, Dr. Alicia. The origin of the duty to warn actually is duty to warn and to protect.
Yeah.
Is a case law that was decided in 1976 by the Supreme Court of California with regard to the issue of mental health. There was a case, named the Tarasov case versus the Regents of the University of California, which was decided by the Supreme Court of California in 1976 about the duty to warn and to protect. A Bengali Indian known as Poddar, Prosenjit Poddar, came as a graduate student to the University of California, Berkeley in 1968. So he came to study, and of course, coming from a patriarchal society, he believed that all women were his domain. And you can draw a parallel between, Mr. Poddar and the people who are in power currently. They believe that women are their prerogative and they can grab them wherever they like. So when, Prosenjit arrived, he was welcome. America is always welcoming of strangers, especially if they didn't come from Mexico. But what happened was that they went to a folk dance with Tarasov, Tatiana Tarasov, under whom this case law was established. And Mr. Poddar immediately was beholden to Tatiana Tarasov and believed that she was already his. It goes without saying that at some point they pecked at each other. And of course, nobody gave him the memo that a woman can say no anytime they like, even in the process. So when he felt rebuffed by Tatiana Tarasov, he went into depression. And then he went to see this, the psychologist, Lawrence Moore. And Lawrence Moore, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and manic depression. So he confessed to the psychologist that he wants to kill Tatiana because she rebuffed him. Eventually, Tatiana went to South America for some time, and when she returned in 1969, Prosenjit stabbed her many times and killed her. So the family took the Regents of the University of California to court. And in that case, the court decided that the therapist had a duty to warn a third party, especially when this person is identifiable easily, and when there is a clear and present danger attributable to the third party. So the duty to warn and to protect became case law. Since 2012, 23 states have adopted the Tarasov law. And social work is at the forefront of the duty to warn and to protect. And this is the first thing we tell our clients. We say we will maintain confidentiality unless you tell us or we perceive that you're a danger to yourself or to somebody else. And that is the origin of the duty to warn and to protect. When Donald Trump began his escapade, he came after Black people. He came after all the other people. And then he saw he wasn't going anywhere. He went on television and said, if I am going to run for president, I am going to run as a Republican because they are stupid.
Yes, he sure did say that.
Yeah, that was a duty to warn at that time. And then he came, and when he came down his escalator of hell, he started to pick victims. He His first step into victimology, or the concept of it, was Mexicans. Now what we had a duty to warn, and people like me started writing. And I declared him a clear and present danger to this adoptive country of mine. So looking at everything that's happening today, I'm sad. But
yes.
Yeah, but the thing is this: you get what you pay for. Yes,
Yeah, I mean,
we are collateral damage, but then perhaps America needs to get, just like the addict, they need to get to the bottom. They need to hit rock bottom before they can, arrive at maybe an epiphany in this case. And did you notice that for all those religious people, he did not put his hand on the Bible to take the oath of office?
he wouldn't put his hand on the Bible.
No, because perhaps if he had touched the Bible, he would have struck him dead. But he didn't put his hand there. So you can see that with everything unfolding, we had a duty to warn and to protect. But the biggest problem we had was that people were chasing after eggs and milk. I'm going to let you rest and continue from there.
Yeah, thank you for that history about the Tarasoff law and the duty to warn and protect. There's limits to confidentiality, and there's limits to the fact that you aren't able to diagnose anybody that you haven't seen clinically. And of course, Donald Trump is not our client. There's no consent for him to be our client. However, many clinicians have pointed out severe malignant narcissism and psychopathic tendencies, to the point where there's a profound concern among most mental health professionals that I've run into, who have continuously feel like we have got a duty to warn. We need to raise alarm, number one, about an apparent cognitive decline and potential early signs of dementia. Second, we are very concerned, of course, about behaviors congruent with malignant narcissism and psychopathic tendencies, marked in a personality marked by constant lying, continuous betrayal, and an inclination to destroy not only himself, but everything around him. And so experts note that he has this lack of enduring friendships, highlighting his self-destructive behavior, both in his presidency and business dealings. And it's a very troubling pattern that we feel like we have to go on record by saying, okay, whatever the future may hold, we feel like we have to have a duty to highlight these things and point things out. Because once someone with such characteristics, if they gain power, what happens? This behavior will do nothing but escalate because it's unchecked. And this appears to be the case with Donald Trump. Chris, how about you weigh in things that you've seen with the inauguration today and this whole thing about duty to warn?
Well, I'm going to be very honest with you, and I didn't watch the inauguration. Yeah, I didn't. That being said, I will say that, yeah, when we think about the duty to warn, part of the issue is, as you pointed out, this person is not our personal client or patient, right? But what we can do is make conclusions and predictions based upon his public behavior.
Yes.
Because we can still apply our assessments, our tools, our expertise to diagnose the behavior. We may be missing the private aspect of it, but what we're talking about today, what we're dealing with from
Yes.
today on, are those public behaviors that we
Yes.
are and have, we are doing now and have a duty to warn. This person, this person has shown over and over again, not once, not twice, but a consistent pattern of behaviors that fit the profile of a malignant narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be a concern. That's a fancy term, maybe for people who are not into mental health profession, understandably. But what I want you to
what's the definition, Chris? Tell us about it.
Woo! Okay. I don't know where to start. You might have to help me. But we have in the mental health world, when we are assessing people's mental health capabilities, we have what we call personality disorders.
Mm-hmm.
And within that, when we talk about personality disorders, we're talking about long-term pervasive. Okay, so if I were to talk about something like depression, right, that's equivalent, I think, to something that can be treated. It can be short-term, especially if treated. But when we contrast that with personality disorders, these are long-term. These are very ingrained. Now, so we'll start there. So narcissistic personality disorder is where a lot of his public behaviors have been aligned. But the alarm, I think, for those of us in the mental health profession is especially because it's not just narcissistic personality disorder. It is the most severe in terms of being malignant. And when we say malignant narcissist, what we're talking about is not only someone whose personality profile is very focused on supporting the sense of grandiosity to offset that low self-esteem. It's also now coupled with some antisocial behaviors, some sadistic type of vengeful behaviors, some paranoia. Like from a mental health professional, it's like this mixed cocktail of danger, like serious red flag danger. But let me stop there. Did I answer your question, Alicia?
Yes. I mean, we've had plenty of time over the past couple of years or so. We've had ample time to be able to look and see. Thank you, baby. To be able to look and see. This is terrible. Hey.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, boys.
Her eyes light up when I walk in the room.
No,
of course.
I just got back. I'm going to come in with you all and talk a little bit.
He's going to come in. That's Dr. Boyce is eating dinner when he's done. You got the dinner. Okay, when he's done, he'll come in and join us. Hello. Okay.
Let me come in.
Go ahead, come in.
The term malignancy means that one is pervasive. Two, it has no end date.
Right.
It's terminal. That's where it comes from. Although the DSM-5 did not particularly and categorically include malignant personality, narcissistic personality disorder. However, we can extrapolate from all the behaviors that have been associated with this being, and then be able to be in a position to define them. And by the way, the DSM, I hope that the next edition of DSM will add malignancy to it, because all the accoutrement of narcissistic personality disorder that is ingrained in the socio-developmental milestones of the entire population of Nigeria is existent here, especially among the males. So what are some of the tenets of malignant narcissistic personality disorder? One, grandiosity.
Oh my God.
I'm bigger than everything. Two, manipulation, to the extent that you will lose yourself when they have you. And that's why even people will regard to be normal are the ones also who voted for him. Three, an inflated sense of self-worth. I have all the buildings. I am a successful businessman. Four, extreme sense of paranoia. Everybody's against me.
Yep.
I'm being threatened. They are coming to. They are killing me because of you.
Yep.
And five, exploitative. You see, he's made over nearly 400 million from inauguration. So he uses every opportunity to exploit. And then, of course, we have the sixth one is being extremely power hungry. Inability to control anything drives them cuckoo. So this is how malignant narcissistic personality disorder, which I am hoping that the next edition of DSM should include, because it's long overdue. And by the way, it's too old school, especially at this stage where we now have telehealth, to believe that we cannot diagnose a client without seeing them. We can. We have all the tools required. In class for ethics and psychology and psychotherapy, we use vignettes. Who did you see before you were able to make your diagnosis using those vignettes? You didn't see anyone. So you bring all these together, all these 6 traits, and you know, which was what I found the very first time I saw him. And I said, this man, and if you go to my Facebook page, I have been writing since I heard of him. And that was my duty to warn.
Yes.
And I think, about it. So those are essentially the concept of malignant personality disorder. Because, when you have malignant neoplasty, neoplasm of cancer, it means you are going to die. So we can extrapolate from malignant neoplasm of cancer to figure out that this man has malignant narcissistic personality disorder that's both incurable, infectious, pervasive, destructive, manipulative, paranoid, exploitative, grandiose, and finally, an inflated sense of self-worth.
You know what? All of that. Because we know he's known to be a con man, a traitor, mentally unwell, cognitively impaired, but he's still chosen. And I think the fact that half of America has fallen for this, that I think their choosing of this, they have a shared culpability. And it raised serious questions, I think, about the moral accountability. I think, and I really feel like people such as Kamala Harris and some people who know better need to be more vocal. I think that it's a grave violation of our moral principles that will lead to inevitable consequences. And I think that he has this destructive tendency, and he seems to get pleasure in intimidating and harming other people. He wants to dismantle everything, including himself.
Yeah.
And we haven't talked about Elon Musk. I do want to spend some time to talk about him, but not quite yet. Spend some time to talk about him. However, therapists who have been therapists, those of us as therapists, and particularly those who've been to therapy, we explore why individuals repeat certain problems and patterns. And I think in creating what I do as a therapist is I make psychological formulations. You know, you make a framework for understanding his behavior, and it begins by examining early attachment phases, how these formative experiences shape an individual's internal working model of relationships and their perception of the world. So if you have someone with a severe narcissistic personality, they're fragile. Their sense of self, they have a deep sense of fear of inadequacy and rejection, and they crave constant attention and admiration. They want someone to be loyal to them. And if you notice that theme, and what we saw today was you want somebody to admire them and to have loyalty for them, and avoid confronting these internal insecurities. This need for validation leads to what Dr. Buster was talking about, this grandiose behavior. And it is very noisy. Close the door. Thank you. And, you know, it's all of these decisions. It's very crucial to remain very vigilant and grounded as we recognize that this is a realistic and very feasible situation that we're happening, and understanding some of these psychological motivations for his behavior. I do want to talk about, I want to go on to have Dr. Chris to respond before I go on and talk a little bit about Elon Musk, the pairing of Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Chris, do you have anything to add to this before I move on to Elon Musk?
I would just say, you know, obviously, I agree with everything that's been said. I really appreciate how both you and Dr. Buster kind of dissected that and laid that out. I think the thing that I wanted to add most, again, is, you know, I think some of the severity or intensity of our responses to this, to the situation, this presidency now, is the multiple factors that are happening here. So I would say, you know, Dr. Buster, Dr. Alicia, you know, usually you might see a fraction of the profile that we're looking at. You know, so we're looking, you know, even as Dr. Buster went through each of those areas, you know, that I think is part of what you were saying, Alicia, in terms of making it pervasive, making it intense. I think particularly what's really concerning is because of that need for grandiosity, or that need for confirmation of the grandiosity, or that insatiable need for admiration, we're going to see what I think others have called this ripple effect. Because what that means is, as a leader, he's going to surround himself with yes people, not based upon their competence, but based upon their loyalty, right?
That is so good. And it's so funny because so far, out of nowhere, I think we need to warn the public, because out of nowhere, it seems like he's creating an international crisis with our allies. He's ignoring the rule of law internationally. He's talking about acquiring Greenland. We have nothing against Denmark and Greenland. You know, these are our allies. These are people that we have great relationships with. The Panama Canal, this is absolutely nuts. Based on national security, these are illegal things that he is trying to promote. And the press is taking him seriously. I don't see anybody in the press, Washington Post, any of this press, that's not challenging this. He's grandiose and irrational. And I think there's going to be a honeymoon period with Trump. I really am, like I said, trying to figure out, why are so many people quiet? It takes courage to be able to stand up to this. He's thinking about changing the name to Gulf of America. I mean, you have to get international buy-in in order to change a large body of water. Will Congress go along with this? He wants to create Trump empowerment zones. I mean, if this is not grandiose mentality, I don't know what is. Trump's lackeys, you know, taking back the canal in case of a war. I mean, these are people that we're happy with. Canada is a sovereign nation. thinking they're going to vote in favor of joining us. Like, is he just throwing this stuff out? Again, this grandiose entitlement, Bob Moss mentality, even with our allies, it's unheard of. President Bush would never have done anything like this. This is just out of control. We can't get into even, I mean, it has to get to the point where even, you know, Republicans have got to say, look at this and say, this isn't right. And I think like his first term, he did not win the popular vote the first time he was elected. He had help from Russia. All of this is going out. This time it's different. You know, this is different. There's no guardrails and he's acting crazy. And that's just such a, that's just to me, you know, it just, you know,
Well,
he's
Alicia,
instigating an international crisis. And I'm just overwhelmed by the lack of silence and the fact that, yes, we're sad that our candidate didn't win, but I think it's getting bigger than that.
it's absolutely bigger than that, right? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you earlier.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Honestly, I think that's why we're at the point where we're talking, or we have seen even previously, professional mental health and you know, medical professionals coming forth on the duty to warn, because the fact of the matter is this is above and beyond, right? When you were talking about you know, his you know, what we were referring to earlier in terms of his his responses to people who don't support him, that grandiosity then takes this next step when we're talking about malignant narcissism, because that's then this retaliation. If you're not, if you don't play in or support my grandiosity, if you don't reinforce that, you are nothing to me. And when we're talking about malignant narcissism, what's added to that beyond the narcissism personality disorder is this the joy that they get into sabotaging you, retaliating against you, you know, creating drama, like you were saying, creating drama with internationally with other countries unnecessarily, you know, not based upon the greater good of this country, but his personality or his self, or what's attacking his self, his sense of self.
Yeah, and it's funny because people like Trump, and Dr. Buster, I'll have you weigh in as soon as I'm done. People like Trump, they're always worried that they're not being loved and admired, that people aren't being faithful or loyal to them. And now you have today everybody congratulating him. All the CEOs are visiting Mar-a-Lago, and the press, to me, has been very gentle with him. Former enemies of Trump are now going to visit him in Mar-a-Lago. And this means that Trump is going to be puffed up more. And the more you believe that every thought and every idea that you have is right. You know, we saw what he said during the pandemic. Some of the things that he would say, you know, in his mind, he's like, why can't we have Canada? Why can't we take Greenland? Why can't we just seize the Panama Canal? You know, we need to look at what is possible and not get alarmed. And I really do think that there's got to be people thinking this is absolute. There's got to be people on the inside that's also alarmed, just as alarmed as we are. So, Dr. Buster, any more concerns before we move on to Elon Trump about what you're seeing with Donald Trump and some examples?
There are two terms that are consistent with the cultural makeup and psychological makeup of the United States of America. One, it's manifest destiny. They believe that the earth is all theirs. The second one is American exceptionalism, where they could be doing all the wrong things, but they don't care because they think that if they ever fall in line and do the right thing, there will be a laughing stock. So the whole of the culture, including the socialization process, is ingrained in unbridled masculinity. This is a place in 2000, I think it was in 2012, Obama during one of his speeches, said, we will need to change the immigration status of students who come to study here, because we give them our best and they do very well. And then we ask them to leave because we are scared of them. They leave and then they compete against us. America and American entrepreneurship dismantled all its machines and took to China. Because one, they didn't want to pay fair wages. And two, they felt that the diminutive Chinese people, their word exactly, are the ones that they can use to produce mass products. But the table is turned on them because China took all those technologies and developed their place. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. By 1987, there were about maybe 15 skyscrapers or less in the whole China. Now, the infrastructure in China is so mind-boggling that it will take America 150 years of determined effort to get to where China is. Until 5 years ago, did you hear that China was the second largest economy?
Yes.
Didn't exist. But let me give you 2 years. China will be the largest economy in the world. So this narcissistic personality disorder, especially the one that contains malignancy, is why every single person, including the CEOs of these organizations, they became CEOs because they have the same personality as a man.
Yeah. Oligarchy. And we're going to be in an oligarchy. Yeah.
And let me give you an example of what's going on. From Shanghai to Beijing is the same distance as from New York to Chicago. The same distance. However, if you're going to be traveling by train from New York to Chicago, it will take you 22 hours. 22 hours plus pulmonary embolism. The same distance, Shanghai to Beijing, is 4.5 hours by high-speed train.
Yeah, they got a better infrastructure.
My wife and I have traversed many parts of Europe. But the first electric cars were actually started here. But essentially speaking, because of that narcissistic personality behavior that has encompassed and permeated the body structure and fabric of America, we will not do it because others have done it.
Yeah. So I love it. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So is it going to change? I don't think it's going to change anytime soon, because mothers and parents have been raised and brought up to teach their children to be narcissistic.
Yes. Yeah, and to look up to people who have qualities like that.
Who have the same trait.
And to think that's how, as adults, we're supposed to treat each other. No empathy, no compassion, no concern for someone else, nothing. It's just, I give mine and I don't care by any means necessary.
Yeah, listen to Mark Zuckerberg. Is it possible that his marriage life is imploding because suddenly he discovered that he needs masculinities, and yet men control most of the organizations in the United States. Still, they don't feel sufficient. They feel extremely deficient and limited in their ability. And Mark Zuckerberg in 2025 is telling us that they need masculinities. So the question I'm asking is, so he didn't have any. He's just a crazy.
No, I mean, well, thank you, Dr. Buster, Dr. Chris. Let me just tell everybody, hey, how y'all doing? How's everybody doing? Weigh in if you saw the inauguration. Weigh in about your feelings and thoughts about the fact that we have a new president here. Be sure to put your comments in. I'll be throwing your comments up in here in the on the screen. If you want to know when I go live, and I go live Sunday, Monday, and mostly. And you can text the word love, LOVE, to 87948, and you'll get information on when I go live. Follow me on Instagram, everybody. Coaching with Dr. Alicia. What? That's how you get information also about all the things that I'm doing and great insights into healthy behaviors, healthy relationships, healthy interactions, everything mostly positive and upbeat on my page. And then, of course, you can contact me at coachingwithdralicia.com. If you want to work with Dr. Chris and Dr. Buster, contact me at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. They are wonderful people who will be able to serve you and all of your mental health needs and as a coaching person. Anyway, we are talking about the duty to warn. We are having a very critical conversation about the ahead of Dr. Trump's presidency. I'm certain my husband, Dr. Boyce, is going to weigh in. He's going to come in here and talk. And I don't know, he's a little right-leaning, and so it causes tension. I ain't gonna lie, it causes tension. I can't take it sometimes because I'm like, no.
Dr. Alicia.
I can't.
Yeah, Dr. Alicia, let me conclude.
Yes, go ahead, conclude before we move
are
on.
products of our own environment, and how we behave affects how others around us act. Donald Trump's grandfather came from Germany.
Yes.
In the 1700s.
Thank you.
He was a draft dodger when he came.
Yes.
And characteristic of Trump, the first thing he did was he tried in the United States, it didn't work. Then he went to Klondike in Yukon in Canada and established a brothel where he had prostitutes he could control. So by the time he left to return back to Germany, he had made over 500,000 K. Then he was rejected.
Wow.
Because he was a draft dodger. Look at Donald Trump's father. And you can see the same pattern.
Yes.
His dad, Fred, was one of the worst human beings ever.
Ever. Yes.
And what he did, he found his alter ego in Trump. And he pushed Trump above all his other children. And made him the alpha, even though he wasn't the first.
He wasn't the first
one. Trump was his name. Look at Trump's son, Junior.
Oh.
So you can see a pattern of that malignant narcissistic personality disorder. So it's a learned behavior and it's ingrained in the socialization process. So most of the people who are in support of Trump have the same traits, but they don't know it.
Yes. I mean, this is not, listen, what Dr. Buster is saying is not his opinion. There have been studies done on the brain development of people who have voted for Donald Trump and those who have not. And those who have, I sent a video. When my husband comes on, maybe I'll have him play the video about how you can operate from your amygdala part of your brain, which is all about the fight and flight. That is what's activated in your brain predominantly when you have endured high levels of trauma. Your amygdala gets online and activated, and they've scanned people's brain and said, this is an entire traumatized individual of people who are voting for Donald Trump. These are facts, everybody. I do believe in science. I do believe in research studies. I know it's been done on brain scans where people who are more liberal and more left-leaning, their brain scans are lit up in other areas of the brain of reasoning, of fluidity, taking, we don't see the world in black and white. And people who've been through trauma tend to see the world in black and white only. It's all bad or all good. It's never in between. And this is what we're finding. This is facts, what we're finding. So it's a lot of healing that needs to be done.
The first time Trump ever had a pushback in his entire life was when he became president.
Yes.
So all his life, he had been socialized into being the alpha, and that whatever he wants is done. For the first time in his life, he didn't believe that anybody could push back at him. So what did he do? He started to mow down all the barriers. Look at all the news media. They are all bought and sold. They have forgotten what the truth is. Look at the case of 47,000 people murdered in Gaza. Americans have normalized it because of that, of that craving to become alpha and to show the other people that we are tough. Have you seen the sizes and the stomach and the lack of physique that those who carry M15 around to a coffee shop, how they look like?
Oh.
So he has no concept of how government works. For him, what he wants is, one, to show grandiosity, to manipulate, heightened a sense of paranoia, including hyper arousal. And then, of course, there is the issue of inflation of self-worth. And then the aggressivity, he abuses you when he doesn't get his way. And then he exploits you when he gets his way until he doesn't need you anymore.
Exactly. And that's what's going to happen. That is what is going to happen. I think that is a wonderful way for us to transition into Elon Musk. Let me tell y'all something. I am worried about Elon Musk right now. He is a carnival of psychopathology. He's already talked about being on the spectrum. And I'm wondering if there's some possible bipolar characteristics going on with him. Character and morality is an issue. Like Trump, Elon Musk is starting to become a little bit more out of control. He's becoming really reckless. He has been putting out 62 tweets a day. And as far as I'm concerned, as a clinician, as a licensed therapist, if you're tweeting 62 times a day, that is diagnostic itself, like a bipolar episode, and he's very ambitious. It's either he's going through a bipolar episode or he's very ambitious. And in some of these tweets, he is criticized. Somebody who criticized him, he responds by saying, "F you, retard." I mean, is society devolving at this point? Because this is gross signs of psychopathology. What is his mental status? Even Elon Musk's biographer, who went on the record by saying, "I think Elon Musk is going mad." And he is sounding the alarm that the richest man in America, or maybe possibly the world, the richest man that we know might be losing his mind. He went on, quote, he's been known to be a substance abuse user. Oh, he is. Elon Musk, I was reading up on him. They tracked his Twitter online behavior, and they said that he is under crippling stress. His biographer said he is deeply unwell. Quote, Elon Musk is deeply unwell. Musk averages 64 posts on social media a day. And Trump is another one who also tweets a day. So I think the two of them teaming up together are, yes, thank you, Juanita. They are for sure diabolical. They're probably soulmates in a sense. And I don't think it will go well for the long term. I've already made my prediction about this. Anybody can, yes. And then on top of that, Elon Musk gave a Nazi salute on Inauguration Day 3 times. Not just one time, but 3 times he gives a Nazi salute, which I won't even really imitate because I feel like it is the most disrespectful thing that you could ever do in this day and age, knowing what I know about what happened with Nazi Germany. Dr. Chris, I will go on to you. Hopefully, I think my husband's coming in a few minutes. We're talking about Elon Musk and his relationship with Donald Trump. We got to talk about it. Oh my goodness. Well, how are you feeling about this?
Well, I see a lot of the same traits. I think you had popped up a comment from one of the listeners earlier, birds of a feather flock together. In the same way that I talked earlier about, we can diagnose and come to some conclusions based upon their public behavior. Same thing with Elon Musk. The lack of empathy, the grandiosity, especially when you talk about, he has talked about some of the mental challenges or struggles that he has dealt with that already is makes it difficult to have interrelations. So, again, in thinking this whole time about our topic tonight, especially in terms of how this impacts us when you have that kind of leader, I was kind of putting it in just a juxtaposition of what do we want in a leader? We want someone who's open, who's willing to learn, who has good interrelationship skills. Those are not the things that we are seeing as mental health professionals in these two people are really in contrast to those things that we would hope to see in an effect and what makes an effective leader.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. Dr. Boyce, how you doing?
Hey, everybody. How y'all doing today?
Oh,
Well,
my goodness.
You.
How you
Elon
doing?
Musk.
Boy,
Elon Musk
welcome
comes
to
from
America.
Buddy,
This is America.
Yeah,
America.
I just got back.
Elon Musk comes from the same continent as I do. He was born into apartheid. And as a white Afrikaner, he had all the privileges appertaining thereto.
Yes, he did.
Nigeria was single-handedly responsible for enthroning and expunging apartheid that Elon Musk benefited from. He comes from a dysfunctional family. His father, Errol, is 79. He's been married several times. One of his wives, Heidi, had a child, Bezundot, who was 4 years old when they married. Elon's father has engaged in incest with his stepdaughter, and they have 2 children.
Did you know that, boys? Elon Musk's father married his daughter, adoptive daughter, and had 2 kids with her.
Yeah, who was 4 years old when Errol married her mother.
Wow. That's
Errol,
heavy.
Yeah. And Elon Musk has 12 children.
Oh.
So now you can see, essentially speaking, that the apple never ever, or the coconut, never ever falls far from its tree. So is that same element of dysfunction? We refer to them as multi-dysfunctional families. Donald Trump himself lapped his own daughter, who was an adult, and said, "My daughter is so pretty, I could date her." Only one who engages in such insipid incest can even mutter that kind of word. So Elon Musk himself was undocumented. He came here as a student, and he didn't have a visa. He invalidated the terms of his visa. He should have been deported, because while he was a student, he started an enterprise. So, and I'm sure you can see where all this is going, that they are all birds of the same feather and they flock together. Elon Musk, you think that Donald Trump has malignant narcissistic personality disorder. You don't know Elon Musk because he is like his father and then some.
Yes.
Because he is over $400 billion richer than anybody else. But then, because in the principles of magnetism, like sides repel. He and Donald Trump, their romance is going to be short-lived because Elon Musk wants more. Donald Trump wants to be the president of the world. Elon Musk is already meddling in European politics. So what I'm telling you, and of course, he didn't invent anything. He didn't invent Tesla. Just like Mark Zuckerberg, they don't invent anything, they buy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not surprised that he is where he is. He is going to fall out with Donald Trump. He's already fallen out with the Breitbart guy. What's his name? The ex-convict who just came out of prison, Steve Bannon.
Yes.
So what we are waiting for is I'm going to sit down pretty here in my office desk, home office or office, and I'm going to watch the whole thing.
Okay, so let me hop in. Let me hop in for a minute. Then let me kind of just ask, just sort of, and I know that I've been listening, and I'm really intrigued and curious about the fact that I think it's been pretty much concluded that most of those guys up there have some personality disorders. Most likely, they seem to, right? You mentioned the multiple divorces. You mentioned growing up in apartheid South Africa. You mentioned some of the things that were happening in their families. Things like that. I would challenge any of you to see if you can see anything good. Like name 5 good things that you think that they might get done. I'm not saying that they're all good. I'm not saying that at all. I'm going to say this. Here's what I'm going to say about my relationship with Elon Musk. My self-worth and my happiness and my well-being in life has never been predicated on whether a white man likes me. It was a lie that I was taught as a kid that a white man who was a racist is somehow my scariest enemy and I should run in fear like, they're racist. You know what? I say things that scare white people all the time. I say things all the time that say black people, we are the chosen people. We are special. We are significant. We can do anything. There's nobody like us. We're amazing. We're extraordinary. If I was a white guy saying the same thing, somebody would call me a terrible racist and a bad person when really all I'm doing is I'm saying this out of love for my people. And now, does that create tension? Does that make white people uncomfortable? Yeah, absolutely. White people, I'm very nice to white people. I've had white students my whole life, but I love the hell out of my people. And I don't think a white man who loves other white people is a bad person automatically. I do think it comes with privilege for sure. There's an ugly, horrible history of terrible things that they've done to us, right? For sure. They went to Africa, carved it up, took all our stuff, raped, hurt people, did all kinds of terrible, for sure. But I think that one of the reasons that these people got elected, I think one of the things that Democrats have to accept is that they are the reason that the inauguration is happening right now. They caused this. They did this, in my opinion. They did this with bad policy, neglecting the black community. I can tell you, I can speak mostly as a black person. They've been neglecting the black community since before Obama. When Obama came along, they got a temporary injection of enthusiasm because people had hope. He gave us hope. And then all that hope got crushed. And so you have a bunch of disgruntled people who are angry that going back to 2012. So again, I'm not sitting here saying that I was happy to see those guys up there on the stage. I don't doubt what you're saying. When you talk about oligarchs and things like that, yes, they are oligarchs for sure. America is financially very oligarchy, right? I mean, you saw the Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, on the main stage with the president. You saw Jeff Bezos next to him. Mark Zuckerberg's over here. Yes, 100%. And that's not gonna change. When Biden was in office, it was the same way.
It was not the same way, boys. It was not to this extent.
No. Zuckerberg,
it was not to this extent.
Because Zuckerberg is so afraid of Trump sending him to prison, he literally said that the Biden administration was calling us and telling us whose Facebook accounts to take down. And I was one of them. They took mine down. I probably lost over $1 million because they destroyed my business and did not care. So if you want to know how I feel personally, all I'm thinking about at the end of the day is I ain't looking for no white man to love me. I don't care if they say Black Lives Matter because I know they don't believe it. I'm looking out for me and my family, and I can tell you they took money right out of my family's pocket. Now what did Elon and Trump do? This is just coincidental, I'm sure. But you know what? I teach investing every day, and I told my students, these are some stocks and cryptos you should buy. All of them are making money since the election. Now, is that a coincidence? It could be. It could be. But what people care about is what really affects them. You know, I think at the end of the day, we haven't paid attention to our own families. And I'm going to tell you, Black people, we're more loyal to the damn Democrats than we are to ourselves. We do. We'll fight harder for them than we will for each other. And I'm not with it. I'm just not with it. Go ahead, please. Now I'm done talking. Thank you for listening.
I'm sorry. I got to jump in here, boys, because I really think that some of what you're saying is accurate. But you know what? I'm not going to just only think about me. I'm not going to only think about me, walk down the street of Chicago and step over people who are poor living on the street. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow, because the thing is that when you start turning your nose up at all these other people that are being unfairly targeted, you're going to be next.
Yes.
This is what I'm seeing going on right now. It is, to me, I have never seen, this is unprecedented in America. We did not see this with George Bush. We did not see this with even Reagan. What we're seeing right now is something above and beyond. Hitler and Trump. There's so many people. You know what Hitler did? Hitler appointed people to cabinet spaces who were loyalists and not qualified for that position. That's exactly what Hitler did. And that's exactly what Trump is doing. Those who come after or against Trump, he's got Kash Patel going after them. He's got, it's like the Führer. He's got Elon Musk and Stephen Miller and all these other people making sure the separation of family happens. This is the exact same thing that
Dr. Boyce seems surprised that you equate Donald Trump to Hitler. He said,
I need to see the 6 million bodies. I need to see, show me 10,000 people he's killed. And then
Donald Trump is the only one I have heard who said Hitler did good things in Germany.
Well, that's true, but the thing is, Hitler's known for killing all the Jewish people, right? We need to base our arguments in reality, not on speculation. I think the Hitler comparison is overused so much.
It is not, boy.
Yes, it is. It's used so much. You're a Hitler. What?
No,
okay, show me where he killed people. Show
me
where he went and conquered Austria. Took over Austria, dropped bombs on England. I would just like to know, where's the Hitler compare? I mean,
here's the thing. I think the mistake we're making is this wait and see. Have you not, boys, you've been on an airplane. You have not been watching what's been going on. He has already made executive orders that's lock, stock, similar to everything that Hitler has done.
He had 4 years. How many wars, how many countries did he invade in those 4? If he's Hitler, if he's baby Hitler, you got to hurry to match a legacy like that. So he was in the White House for 4 years. How many countries did he invade in those 4 years?
Okay,
Biden has sent $100 billion to Ukraine, another $100 billion blowing up Palestinian children. Seriously,
answer it.
All my life, I have lived in conflict. I'm not going to wait until I get there, because what everybody is screaming at is, if you let Trump, he will get to that place. Nobody, I've never heard, even as much as I dislike what Israel is doing to Gaza, I will never ever wish on them what they are doing to the people in Gaza. And I will never wish the Israelis what Hitler did to them. So the hula baloo is that people are saying, do not let Trump get to that extent where he emasculates everybody and gets us to that point. So that's
Okay,
what
so
everyone is saying.
I think Dr. Chris should be able to speak. People in the chat were asking for Dr. Chris.
Okay,
And I'm
well,
gonna actually go check on. I gotta go check on the Ohio State game just real quick too. So I'm gonna be right back. My Buckeyes are winning the national championship. That's the important thing happening in this country right now. I'm kidding. I'll be right back.
I cannot honestly say
Do your
that.
thing. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Like, this is unbelievable
I love this.
Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead, Chris. This is unbelievable. I cannot believe that I'm married to somebody who's not seeing the obvious comparisons here. Like, for real.
No, Dr. Alicia, let me tell you what he's doing. He is an agent provocateur. He just, he wants to generate discussion. That's what he's doing. He knows what he's trying to do is he wants to stimulate the discussion on those parts. And that's why I've been laughing all the time. In French, we refer to him as agent provocateur, provocation agent. So I actually enjoyed it. Dr. Chris, please.
Thank you, Dr. Buster, because he sure did. Fired up. I was over here like, So, first of all right, I think in the spirit of coming to this talk today, it was about duty to warn. This is not about politics, okay? Not for me, and I don't think it is for the rest of us. In response to some of the things that Dr. Boyce had to say, while I respectfully disagree, some of the responses I have is, okay, and some of them have already been said. Like, we're not waiting till the world blows up. We can see as professionals that there are warning signs and flags to heed. That is why we are here today. That is why we were speaking up. And fine, maybe the comparison, especially, out there with media, social media, journalists, that there's, haters of Trump maybe have overused that comparison to Hitler. But what I want to impress upon people is that we are coming to the table making that comparison here and now based upon the psychological profiles of both of these people. Now, what is different from Trump and Hitler in that comparison is because of history, and time is, the time that has been spent on researching Hitler, we have personal profile on him. But neither here nor there, in my humble opinion, because the public profile, the leadership profile that both of them are bringing is very similar. And even if we don't want to make that comparison, what we have to realize is that it is not just our opinion, right? This is not an opinion-based discussion that we're having with you or points that we're bringing up. These are based upon evidence-based assessment tools.
But people don't like, people embrace ignorance. They don't even want to know what experts think. And that's another similarity to Hitler. In that time, they didn't care what experts think. They basically shoved aside, like Dr. Buster mentioned, anybody who has any connection with knowledge and information. The parallels that historians and clinicians have made between the two is quite frightening when you look into it. It is quite disturbing, Chris.
Yes.
So I don't think I can sit back and say that Hitler or Trump is just like everybody else. I do not think he's like everybody else. I think
No.
Yes, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I gave that impression.
No,
I emphatically agree with what you were saying earlier. And that's why I wanted to say this is not about politics for me. This is not about Democrat and Republicans. I really would like to shy away from that part of it. This is about looking at the leadership, right? This is fundamentally different than any other president we have had. The only close comparisons, I think, and I would look to Dr. Buster on that with the historical perspective, would be maybe Nixon. But this is not about him being a Republican or a Democrat. I mean, wasn't the guy at some point a Democrat early on and then became a Republican? It is about what this person, this leader who is now in office, starting today, has said from his own mouth, and his actions are repeating itself. This is what we're trying to say, and we're more emphatic about putting this message out because guess what? Power amplifies the psychopathy. Okay,
Yes.
giving him power is like it's a self-feeding cycle. The more power you give him, the more he's going to feed that monster of needing that, gratification, needing that adoration, and just like again what we saw, he put people in place who are not necessarily competent. He put people in place who are loyal to him. Come on now.
Exactly.
This is
Which-
our country.
Yeah. In 1976, there was a man who was born in 1925. His name was Pol Pot. Pol Pot came from Cambodia, and Cambodia was a French colony. So Pol Pot, when he ascended into power in 1976, he idolized people like Hitler. The first thing he did was he created a concentration camp for all the intellectuals.
Thank you.
And then send them into, eventually they silenced them, and then send them into what they refer to there as the killing fields of Cambodia. By the time he died in 1979, he was overthrown in 1978. He was able to murder 3 million Cambodians. So what we are saying in effect is when somebody tells me I want to be a dictator, I'm not sure that I'm going to go to bed thinking that he is not going to do what he has threatened me with. If one of the things about duty to warn is if you threaten me that you're going to harm me, I'm not going to sit down until you harm me. I'm going to leap and I'm going to fight you to the hilt to make sure that that doesn't happen. Trump personally has no capacity. He doesn't even have the intellectual capacity
That's right.
to do what he wants. However, he has enlisted the participation of those who have such intellectual capacity.
Yeah, so he's outsourced his brain to other people to further his cause, which is what Hitler did.
If you listen to his, the confirmation hearings, none of them I've heard pledged any allegiance to the Constitution.
Yes.
Every single one of them pledged their allegiance to Donald Trump.
To Donald Trump, which is also what Hitler did.
You guys have not experienced civil war. I have experienced civil war that we lost 2 million people. I was a child soldier at 10, and I know it when it's ticking. So the parallel to that Donald Trump is that he himself he's a liberal. He just became what he is because he said to himself and said to everybody, said, I want to be a president. However, I can't be a president with the Democrats. I'll be a president if I join the Republican Party because they are stupid. So he can't do zilch. However, he has people who are committed, the alt-right so-called Christians, who believe that God has anointed this hoodlum to be in charge of Buster. I'm a Gemini, for crying out loud. So I'm not going to sit down until he has killed me. I have grandchildren here. I have children here. This is my home too. The only difference is that he came earlier and that was documented. His mother was not documented.
I would also like to add too that when I was looking into this, one of the things that concerned me the most when I think about this from a leadership perspective is the fact that with this kind of personality profile, anyone that presents to them with potential that may match or be beyond them is going to be squashed because they're considered a threat. Now, again, if we're thinking about healthy leadership, if we're thinking about like business.
Can we hear from Chris?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we think about even
you're kind of in and out for a little bit.
I'm sorry, the winds are blowing over here, so that might be part of it. I apologize.
You sound fine to me.
Okay.
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
No, she's underwater a little bit.
No, I can hear her clearly.
I think that's your speaker, Alicia, because I can hear it fine. Hey, everybody in the audience, can y'all hear Chris?
I can hear you clearly. I can hear you clearly.
Oh, you can hear her clearly. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
we can hear her clearly.
So one of the things that scares me most about this profile, and again, part of I'm purposely kind of almost taking it away from let's looking at a person. Let's look at this as a profile, especially when we move some of this conversation to include Elon Musk, right? One of the things that scares me when you think about effective leaders is that this kind of personality profile isn't gonna like, hey, you're great like me. Let's join together and make this world great, make America great again. No, that person is going to be seen as a threat. So again, the focus is now on what could be a potential advantage or benefit for our country in terms of being strategic and managing all the different things, that you do at the presidential level. So, now the focus, instead of, again, part of the profile we're seeing, is instead of the focus being on the good of the country or the focus of the goals of the country, it's going to be on the person, right, in this kind of leadership style. And in that particular situation too, it's like, okay, you have someone who is as good or greater than you. Instead of embracing that, he's going to push that away. That's a threat. And that should be important to people, because what that does is when that's the leader, when that's the person running our country, that should be the least of his problems, or her problems. It should be something that, again, like if you were in a business or an organization, you maximize on that opportunity. I'll stop there.
Well, I'll tell you, I think that what I'm not a Trump. So I've never voted for Trump ever, not one time, first time or second time. So I am not out here trying to sound like I'm a defender of Trump. I end up sounding that way because the panel is very biased. A lot of you are Democrats, and that makes me sound, or you lean more left, right? You're more anti-Trump, definitely anti-Trump,
No.
right?
We are anti what he does.
Right. Okay. Right. You're anti what?
What he does.
Oh, anti what he does. Right. Yeah, so here's the thing, right? I'll kind of be the devil's advocate in this, not because I want to be. If you were all Trump supporters, I'd probably be arguing with you too, right? Because I've been following Donald Trump for 35 years. I wrote a letter to him in 1991 because I wanted him to mentor me. I wanted to go work for him because I'd read his book, The Art of the Deal. And he wasn't political. He was just known as one of the richest people in America. And I wanted to find a way to be successful as a young black man. At that time, at 19 years old, I wasn't thinking about Democrat, Republican, none of that crap. I was thinking, how do I find some way to get to New York so I can get an opportunity? Because as a black man, I did not have any opportunity. So I wrote him a letter because there was no email. He did not respond because he was famous at the time, right? So I assume somebody probably threw it in the trash. But that was my first impression of him. And I read his book, The Art of the Deal. And at that time, again, without knowing what the world would look like 33 years later, I was impressed with the guy. I was very impressed because at that time, he was known for being an extraordinarily good businessman. And now what did happen look, go back at the record. Oprah loved him. He would go on shows. He would charm them. The rappers all wanted to be like him. And all these people. That's why everybody's like, oh, why is Snoop Dogg's flip-flopping? Well, because Snoop Dogg ain't doing nothing but flipping back to what he was before Trump got into politics. When you get into politics, the world is so divisive. When Oprah got into politics, suddenly half the world thought she was a demon. People that used to watch her show are like, well, she's a Democrat, so I think that she's in on it with all, and it's just goofy. It's crazy. So when I look at Trump, I do see a broader picture. And also, I'm just going to tell you, I ain't never seen anybody in the White House that's ever done anything significant for my community. I think the Democrats had more black loyalty than any political party has ever had. They have black people.
That's not fair to say.
What people are mad about now is they're not mad at black women. Black women stood the line. Black women showed up for Kamala, Chuck's pearls, all that. God bless them for that. But the black men were like, man, please. Like
we're not talking about Democrats or Republicans. We are talking about humanity, the essence of decency.
I agree. I agree. Yes. What y'all getting the narrative wrong. But y'all getting the narrative wrong. You think people?
I'm a liberal from Canada. I can't stand the Democrats because they don't go far enough.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you, you might be right about that too. You're probably right about that too. But the thing is, the unfortunate reality about America, which is a problem, I do agree actually, is America is a very, very capitalist country. Ever since they started allowing, I think they passed Citizens United, and they allowed all this money to flood into politics. You have Dr. King talked about this. He said that America promises justice in the left hand, but then you've got capitalism in the right hand, and the right hand crushes the left hand. That literally the capitalism. Right.
The difference is that the United States kind of capitalism has no human face.
Yeah. And so what's happened in America is that you have, for many years, what you would have is you'd have the capitalists in the background who putting the politicians in the foreground. They would pay for a certain person to get elected, so they would then pursue their agenda. Now, what's different about this administration to me is that they're not pretending anymore. They're doing it in plain sight. I heard you all talking about the robber barons, and you're 100% correct. Bezos, Zuckerberg, the Google folks, Elon, they're all the modern day robber barons. And now what's happened is that the drug dealers have taken over the police station because your police station was corrupt from the beginning. The drug dealers were already paying off the cops. Now the drug dealers have said, let's cut out the middleman. Let's just put the uniform on ourselves. And that's what, and this is what, so what's the whole would I be happy if Kamala was in? No, it'd be the same thing. It would not be the same thing, boys. It would be the exact. It would be the exact same thing. It would be the exact same thing, but you would still have babies getting murdered in black neighborhoods. You would still have black folks struggling in ways that are worse than ever before. We still have a community full of broken families, declining wealth. Nothing ever gets better. And so to me, it's go get some damn money. That's what I've been telling my folks.
I want to jump in here real quick. Please. I don't think it's fair to say that Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris have done absolutely nothing for black people. That is not fair, boys.
Well, I'm not gonna say absolutely nothing. I'm just gonna say that they wrote a check. They wrote a $10,000 check and handed you a $50 bill.
Can I say something? Can I say something now? I agree that it's not enough progress that has been made, but I think that I think it's unfair to say that they've done absolutely nothing for black people. That is not fair. Okay, I think these kind of black and white conversations, we talked about these black and white statements. We cannot talk about those things right now. There is an issue. There's progressiveness that has happened. Okay, but I think what Chris was talking about was she was saying, let's put politics aside. Let's just get down to the humanity of the things, the compassion of the things, and Trump is in a whole nother category than any conversation we've ever had before. That this is an issuing in a new situation that's not only going to be terrible for black people, it's going to be terrible for the entire country. This won't end well if we keep going the way we're going. Therefore, we feel today as professionals that we have a duty to warn let this video be on record that if anything were to happen, which we are predicting is not going to end well, we have now stated that we are seeing some extremely troubling things that are unprecedented in this country. That's what we're saying. And it's to the likes of Adolf Hitler. There's been so many.
To warn and to protect.
Go ahead.
The duty to warn and to protect. And I had mentioned the terror service or the urgence of the University of California, which was decided by the Supreme Court of California in 1976. We will be remiss by not warning, as we have a duty. I started talking about this on Facebook before 2016, when Trump descended his escalator of hell. And I mentioned, and I will keep saying that Facebook has put me in detention a few times. I think they gotten tired of me. And now that Mark Zuckerberg has discovered that he actually has a penis, maybe we can write more. Maybe Dr. Boyce can come back to the platform and continue to inform us, essentially speaking. And what he said, there is not one truth that he didn't say. The Democrats, remember that the Democrats we have today devolved from the Democrats of the South. And they are usually afraid of the Republicans in doing things. And every single step that the Democrats take, they are stifled. They find a way to be stifled by the Republican Party. So to a large extent, they are not as cohesive as they should be. And that's one of the reasons I have problems with them. All the programs we have today were created by Democrats. All of them, from the Social Security
safety net.
to the last.
Thank you.
So each time the Republican Party comes in, we lose our programs. George Bush Jr. wanted to privatize Social Security.
Oh,
he wanted to change the Constitution in his DOMA, Defense of Marriage Act. So for me, it's not because of Democrats or Republicans. The Republicans have not done anything for America ever.
I would just add, can I just step in, Dr. Boyce?
Dr. Boyce, read them.
I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Republican.
I've never thought you. I just thought that I'm enjoying your presence here, because what you are is what we refer to as agent provocateur, provocation agent, because you throw it in so we can engage in the discussion, and I love that. I wouldn't have it any other way. I neither like listen, I'm not a card-carrying member of the Democratic Party, but I will never be a Republican because they don't represent anything for me.
Nothing.
And as a social worker who is sworn to protect those who are vulnerable, they take away my programs. How am I supposed to love them? I rest my case.
Yeah, I don't, I mean, given that at least two of you have a background in social work, I wouldn't expect you to be Republicans, and I came up in the field of finance, and it was full of Republicans. And so I've heard from both, right? Even when I was in that room full of Republicans, I was still voting Democrat for a very long time. Then I stopped voting Democrat because I wasn't getting anything for my vote. And the reality is, I think that on both sides, there's good and there's bad. I think that the problem is that there's only two sides and not multiple sides, right? The problem really is with the system at large in terms of not giving real choice, just giving the illusion of choice. Also, I will just say, I've just been telling my folks, I think you better, in this society, you better stop waiting on the government to really do a whole lot for you. I don't see America as a country that's built that way. Maybe one day the socialist or the communist revolution will take over and capitalism will fall. I'm sure there are people out there fighting for that. I don't even know if I even want that to happen. I want us to take advantage of what little democracy we do have in this country. You don't live in a democracy. That's the first thing. It's like, stop believing that nonsense. The only area where you have some element, some smidgen of democracy is that I can tell you that if you had bought $1,800 worth of Apple stock in 1998, you'd have $4 million right now. Now, again, that doesn't replace the fact that the Republicans and Democrats are doing these crazy things to destroy the country. Let's assume the Republicans are worse than the Democrats. I would probably agree with you, but I can tell you this. If you are a family that's making certain decisions and with your life and with yourself, there are opportunities to have a positive outcome. But again, though, I can't disagree with you in terms of the importance of social safety nets and programs. And I mean, I think all that stuff is beneficial. I have no problem. Mental health facilities, like we need more of that. And so I think the question I'd always ask is like, why is it not there? And even in states like California, where they see
Ronald Reagan dismantled all of the community mental health programs.
And that's because the system.
Ronald Reagan,
right? Like, why was he allowed to do that? He was allowed to do that because the billionaires all got together in the 1970s and said, let's dismantle all this shit. Let's get rid of the social safety nets. Let's get rid of the labor unions because labor unions get in the way of us making money. And that's what they did. How were they able to do that? Well, because the founding fathers, as brilliant as we want to believe that they were, they did not design a foolproof system. They designed a system that has been infected by money. That's what's happened.
On males.
Yeah, there. Well, when I'm gonna tell you, when I'm online with the brothers right now, we all talking. What the brothers are all talking about, they know don't nobody care about black men. They know that we got to care about ourselves. And what they're talking about is like, okay, what stock and what crypto do I buy that's going to go up and make me some money for my family while all these shenanigans are taking place? And because it really does come back to the economics. It does. That's what I'm saying.
But I do care about people. I just want to say the New Deal did help everybody. The Social Security, I mean, it lifted older adults right now. Our parents are able to live on their own. Thank God.
Medicare, Medicaid, Pell Grant,
Medicaid, all of these things. He's rolling back Obamacare. I mean,
he has no substitute. He has no.
That's going to ruin my practice because mental health. There's a lot of people that I see in my private practice who can charge insurance because of Obamacare, because mental health services were offered with Obamacare. And now if Obamacare is done with, that's going to cripple my practice.
Yeah. But when Trump had COVID, when Trump had COVID, he went to Walter Reed. How much did he pay? He was receiving welfare. They gave him the best medication, so the guy didn't die. So and of course we've been having socialism here. It's called Medicare, Medicaid.
Boyce is going to check the game. Are you watching the game? Go ahead, Dr. Chris.
Yeah. Dr. Chris.
Again, I actually wanted to kind of address what Dr. Boyce was saying. Now, I agree with him. We are nowhere near the point of solving the problem of the injustice and the inequality. And I'm not saying, again, I don't want to be political, but I'm not saying that any of the candidates, presented this 100% solution.
That's right.
That being said, we're also not trying to go backwards. And that's what I have been consistently observing from even his first administration. I never, ever thought that my rights as a woman about my health and reproductive options would be revoked in my lifetime, or even, if I had children in their lifetimes. I thought that was a done deal. So I guess really what I was so urgent to say is I respect what Dr. Boyce is saying in the sense that no, Kamala didn't come in and be like.
He doesn't mean it. He doesn't mean it. He just wants to provoke so we can engage in discussion.
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
a Gemini and I'm an agent provocateur.
That is true, but it gets on my nerves. Okay, y'all don't have to live with them. Gets on my nerves. It boils me over because I know how important social programs are. And I hate when I'm around people that don't understand public aid and don't understand welfare. The fact that 75% of people who are on welfare get up and go to work every single day. We don't have enough.
but all these corporate all these corporate bodies, Elon Musk, and they are all on welfare.
Yes, they are on big-time welfare. Thank you,
Walmart is on welfare. The richest family in the world is on welfare because all the program, all the rights, all the privileges that appertain to those who work for them, they don't give to them. So the federal government has to give it to them. If you work in Walmart, you don't have health care. You go to Obamacare.
Yes.
So the things that Walmart should have been providing, the federal government provides it from your taxes. So what does that make Walmart? It makes it a welfare.
Good point.
Tiffany. Who is Tiffany? Yeah. What is this? Who are you? This don't make voices right. No, he ain't. He don't know about He's not right. He's not right. You don't understand about safety nets, and they criminalize people who are poor. They criminalize people who are poor, are criminalized.
Yeah.
People look down on people because they don't have anything, but you don't understand these people get up and go to work every day. They are hardworking people, but minimum wage has not increased at all. You go anywhere else in this planet, minimum wage increases with every year, you know. What's the beep? Okay. Minimum wage, developed nations. Okay. Developed nations. Minimum wage goes up with inflation. That has not happened in this country. So how could we really go ahead, Buster?
When I arrived in Canada, at least, you know, give or take, 3 decades prior, I came with degrees from Nigeria. I was a director general of ministries, you know, in education and stuff like that. But I didn't think I was going to be the prime minister right away. The only job I could get was that of a cleaner. And as a cleaner in Canada in 1993, I was being paid $13 an hour. In 1993, extrapolate $13 an hour to today's currency. This is the only country that has adequate tolerance for the suffering of others. Look at the average number of people who drive a huge SUV. 1. If that's not an element of narcissistic personality disorder, I don't know what it is. Look at how they raise their trucks. They put them on ramps and they're driving. And the average number of persons in every car you see on the road in the United States is 1 person. People are here and they are able to tolerate the fact that somebody can't get health care and they die in an ER.
Yes. Yes. All right, you guys. Maybe we'll wrap this up. We've been on here for a long time. This ain't going to be our last time, everybody. We'll be back. I'll be back. And next time I come back, I'm bringing Dr. Boyce on, and we're going to have our boxing gloves on. And we're going to we're going to box it out. We'll box it out with him on the air.
He's highly stimulating.
He's highly stimulating.
Yeah. So he's highly stimulating, and I love that.
I can't take it.
But the thing is this. Today, the Agent Orange, Donald Trump, has signed over 200 executive orders. None of them pertains to the cost of milk and egg. So, and 2, that raid, he said he was going to deport 12 million or 13 million people. 1, he can't do it. He has no capacity. He has no money. There is nothing. He's just making an empty threat. I told you, remember when the bombing started in Gaza, and I told you, and I heard Israel say they were going to wipe out Hamas. And I said, Hamas may be as evil as you cannot wipe them out because they represent the will of the people you've held hostage for 75 years.
Yes.
I don't hate Israel. I just hate what they do.
Exactly.
That they didn't like when it was done to them. So in the same vein, I do not hate Trump. I just hate what he represents. And what he represents, plus all the people who voted for him, are inimical to the growth and development of humanity in the United States of America. I have 2 other countries I can go to, but I'm here. And by hell or high water, things will have to change. Listen, all 3 of us make enough money that we don't have to worry for anything. But most of the people who we are crying for and fighting for cannot afford trailer homes, cannot afford full meals, cannot afford education. How many PhDs are here? I have a double major PhD in education and social work. So I can go to any part of the planet and pick up a job and I'll be paid handsomely. I'm not crying for myself. I am crying for those of you who are engaging in what we call self-immolation. You just pick up a 38 and put it in your mouth. And that's who we are fighting for.
Thank you. Chris, you got some parting words?
I love what Dr. Buster said at the end, especially like this isn't about us as much as really, especially not just genuine to ourselves, but genuine to our professions, trying to look out. Know that I guess the one thing I would say leaving the conversation is please don't take yes, there was opinions sprinkled into this discussion, but a lot of people don't understand, if they're not in the mental health world, they don't understand how we study things. And there are definitely some facts and studies that are backing what brought us to communicate the conclusions we have today.
All righty, Chris. Well,
I love that. I love that. I love that.
Too.
Like she said, we don't hate anybody. We just
say
it the way it is.
We say it the way it is, and that's what we're doing today. And one thing about me is that I can never silence myself, so I'm always going to have something to say. But I'm not happy with what I'm seeing. Today was a very sad day for me today, watching the inauguration, listening to I did listen to Donald Trump's speech, and I would say 90% of what he said was not only things that I disagree with, but it was very disturbing. I agree with the growing experts who are starting to understand that there are some cognitive declines, potential early signs of dementia. So we do care about people.
Assuming he had cognition, initially, he didn't have cognition.
Yes.
Assuming he ever had cognition.
Cognition isn't quite there. And he is 10 toes down in wrongness. And there are people who have followed that. And I think it is signs of malignant narcissism, psychopathic tendencies manifesting in his personality. I think that I'm going to keep a close eye on this. And as a therapist, I'm going to keep a close eye on his relationships with everybody in his cabinet because he has a history of failed relationships. I venture to think it's going to be more of this. Boys, you have parting words? I venture to say we're going to have more of this. We're going to have more of a conversation coming up. And then I'm going to let Boyce, I will let you get the last word in. I have made my predictions. What you got to say?
Okay. I'm going to say first off, it was great to see everybody again. And I respect all your opinions and thank you for educating me on certain things. I think that at the same time, when we, as mad as we might want to get about whoever's in office, I think it might be helpful also to gain some self-awareness by asking why did half the country, tens of millions of people support that person? Is it because they're all beneath us? They're all unintelligent. They're all unaware. That they don't, they see something they don't see what I see. And I personally think that as a person who has refused to take sides, and I've dealt with, I've seen some things up close. I never met the Obamas. I lived on their street. I was in some certain circles and saw certain things. you know, I can just tell you, you know, that it's not as cut and dry as we might think, right? Now it could be the case that perhaps, you know, I wouldn't never be one to defend either the Republicans or Donald Trump, because I never thought he was all that mentally healthy. But I think that when we present someone in one light, like all he is evil and stupid, and he's not the same brilliant man that built this amazing company that has thousands of employees, many thousands of those people love him and, you know, I respect him, right? You know, it could be, yeah, sure, he's got an awkward personality, I'm sure, and I don't even know if I'd want to be his friend, but I think that when we can't even acknowledge the massive empire that this man built without throwing a jab at it, without discrediting, without somehow saying, well, it's not real, it's not no, it's real. I can tell you as a financial expert, it's 100% real.
Six bankruptcies.
Absolutely. Out of that, but remember, out of thousands of companies, he had 6 bankruptcies. A bankruptcy is not a big deal when you're running lots of businesses. It's a big deal for an individual to go bankrupt, because that's the only, because you got one stream of income. But
he's got failed business deals and failed relationships.
Absolutely, 100%. All that's true. Absolutely, 100%. Just like Michael Jordan missed more shots than most players ever take in their whole career.
That's not an equivalent.
But you can go to any businessman. You go to any businessman. Go to Oprah Winfrey and see how many bankruptcies Oprah's got. Look at what happened when Oprah ran Weight Watchers. She ran Weight Watchers into the ground. That company.
That's not an equivalent. It's not equivalent.
But what I'm just saying
is not the same thing, boys.
It's not. No, it not go bankrupt. It's similar in the sense that believe me, remember,
we can't make up our own facts.
Don't forget, don't forget, you're talking to a finance professor here, and I can tell you that 6 bankruptcies. Most billionaires have more than 6 bankruptcies on their record. It's not about, because what happens is you sign on, you sign up and you start 100 companies. You know, a few of them are not going to succeed. My brothers in venture capital, 90% of the businesses they invest in fail. It's the 10% that makes them rich.
So, as a data person, it's not the numbers, it's the quality, it's why.
Absolutely.
Right. It's not about the numbers.
I can definitely concede that this guy, you know, he's been involved in the boxing industry, which is notoriously corrupt. When he built that $400 million hotel at the age of 28, at that time in New York, you had to deal with mafia to get that done. So there are things in Trump's background.
He's ruling. He's running the country mafia style.
I hope your dad gave you a small loan of $2 million.
But the thing to me is that the same people that will talk about the things that the shady things that happened in Trump's career, which I'll acknowledge, won't mention the man that was murdered execution style during the Obama campaign, who went to Obama's church, who happened to be a very vocal critic of him. Go look that up. Look at the Trinity United Church. The head of the choir ended up dead execution style.
Did Obama kill him?
Did Obama kill him?
I'm not saying Obama killed him. Because I ain't trying to get killed. But what I'm saying to y'all is what I'm really telling y'all, because I'm telling you, Al Sharpton, right next to Obama, was on tape doing a drug deal. Like, right? So all this stuff is shady. That's my point. All this stuff is corrupt. A lot of these people in Capitol Hill are dirty. And so if you tell me, like, well, he's bad because he's dirty, that's not enough. I need more. I look at the end of the day, I just look and see, okay, what's our best chance of getting out of here? Okay. Yes, Trump was a convicted felon, but the reason that the Democrats
he is.
He is right. He is right. And the Democrats put him in office because half of America felt like those charges were bullshit. They felt like the charges were just trumped up so they could try to keep him from running for president. And the more they tried to do that, the more people rallied around them. And that was to me saying that they couldn't fight fair and square. They should have fought fair and square. Malicious prosecution against your political enemies is something that should be done. That's done in corrupt third world countries. It should not be done in the United States.
I will tell you one thing. Our next conversation next month will be the psychology of the voters. We'll go back to that because I think that there is a cult. There's a cult-like phenomenon.
If you do 100, or even if you attempt 100 of what Trump has done, you will be in prison for life.
Absolutely. And if I did anything, if I did the things Hunter Biden did, I'd be in prison for life. You know how many millions of black men Joe Biden
you are trying to make comparisons that are not equivalent.
Joe Biden, I wrote an article comparing Biden to Hitler because no president in American history has assassinated more black men than Joe Biden. So Joe Biden, these are not
what did Hunter Biden do? He was a drug addict. He didn't pay taxes.
So Hunter, now we're gonna say Hunter Biden's a good guy. Is that
no? And this is what the is when we talk about these things, and that's why I want to take it away from politics. No. Again, let's look at it like it's data. Okay. So no, we're not saying Hunter Biden or the Biden presidency Kamala was all great. No, we're not working in absolutes, Dr. Boyce, right? We're just saying, but though, given that we're not working in absolutes, we have relative levels of functioning here that is not good. I understand. I think I understand what you're saying, Dr. Boyce, and said is that we weren't working functionally as it is, right? But we're going below. What I think we are trying to say is, oh my God, we're not even sustaining the status quo of bad. We're going beneath bad with these flags.
We are.
How many of you would like to have a son that resembles Donald Trump?
Wait, say it again.
How many of you would like to have a son or a daughter that acts like Donald Trump?
Well, I'm gonna tell you. I studied all the presidents. I'll just say we're little. Obama, Trump, all of them. I have admiration for all those people. Every one of them. There's things about all their lives that I admire. Trump, again, I'm not saying Trump is not a creep on certain levels, but if you open your mind and you can appreciate the good in people, even when you see the bad, I think it just gives a more holistic point of view. Politics is too black and white, and that's the part I can't do. I can't believe one guy's the devil and one guy's my savior. I just think that's not even
Dr. Boyce,
a good way to look at it.
Dr. Boyce, you are my brother, my little brother and friend. I after this, I would like you to show me the good things that Donald Trump has done.
Here's the thing. Let me just be clear. I didn't vote for him, right? So I don't believe in him the way everyone else. I watch both sides go back and forth, and I kind of see where there's flaws in both directions. I do that. Yeah. I understand capitalism, but that's why I tell my students every day I'm not a capitalist. I'm not like an Elon Musk because I understand the flaws of capitalism. But at the same time, when I looked over at the left and I saw some things. I mean, do you know how many laws Joe Biden passed? He's the reason for the student loan debt crisis. Literally, because the Delaware banks, the billionaires, gave him money and said, pass a law making it illegal for people to write off their student loans. And who was it? Bless her heart. The one lady, I forgot her name. She's a Democrat. She warned. She said in 2006, she said, if this law gets passed, you're going to have a student loan debt crisis in about 15 years that you will not be able to fix. And Joe Biden pushed it through anyway, with the help of people like Bill Clinton and Bush too. Yeah. Bush was in support. Yeah. And so the banks could get their money. It was Elizabeth Warren. Thank you. Yeah, bless Elizabeth Warren's heart. She was the one person. She happened to be in the Congress. She said, Mr. Biden, if you get this law passed, you're going to have a student loan debt crisis that's going to be out of control. But he did it for the banks. So my point
is, he has atoned for it. He has atoned for it.
Hold on, wait, boys. Why don't you allow Dr. Buster to talk?
Go ahead. He has atoned for it. By student loan forgiveness.
I don't think he's atoned for anything. I think he's senile now.
And I think loan forgiveness.
The Wall Street Journal just wrote a report basically saying that Biden has not been in power for a year and a half. Do y'all know that? You talk about mental capacity? Hold on. I want to ask this, Buster. As a therapist, what do you think about the fact that a man with dementia has been running the government for a year and a half? This was in the Wall Street Journal. Do we have any response?
No, but it's true. It's true. But Ronald Reagan had advanced stage Alzheimer's when he was in his second term. So Biden is not the exception. I mean, he's not the rule. I mean, he's not the exception. For 4 full years, Ronald Reagan didn't know where he was at. And that was why we got Strategic Defense Initiative, which he called Star Wars, where he imagined in his lost mind that we could from space conquer the whole world. So he wouldn't be the first. As we all have agreed, Washington, D.C. is a cesspool of everything that we abhor. But it is the government. However, there are more cesspools than others. And Trump is the Muhammad Ali of the cesspools.
Yeah.
He
really is. He is the Muhammad Ali. And by the way, I mean, I think it's a great idea to have loan forgiveness, which is what Biden was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
We know that Biden. We know that Biden pardoned. We know Biden pardoned a lot of people.
Yes, he did, and Trump did too. Trump pardoned thousands of people from January 6th. Today, he gave pardons and commutations and closed the cases of thousands. So in their world, he's their hero. In Biden's world, other people see him as the hero. To me, it's just a
how
difference
can it
of
be
opinion.
the voice? He pardoned somebody who had tore down our nation's capital.
Who threatened?
That was
who threatened, and as a group even hurt police officials, DC police officials.
That was highly inappropriate. But did we spend time looking at the list of people that Biden pardoned? Did you see the criticism on that? Did you see how the conversation about preemptive pardons shifted when Trump was going to do it? All the conversations on MSNBC were, oh my God, this is horrible. This is unethical. Only a criminal would do this. And then Biden started doing it for his own family. He pardoned his whole family.
Are you telling me you wouldn't do the same thing, knowing as a leader that someone is going to take over and attack your family and your people?
Absolutely.
You're telling me.
I
pardon them just like Biden.
I totally would. Right. But so here's my prediction. Trump is going to do it too. And when Trump does it, it'll be defined as, oh my God, this is unethical, this is criminal. When Biden does it, it's like, oh, it's because of what? Because remember, remember though, the people that were prosecuting their political enemies were the Democrats going after Trump. That silly stuff like people knew that was BS.
Didn't do anything. Trump was just minding his own business and being nice and legal and legit and law-abiding, and then they came after him.
I don't think any of them are law-abiding. I think Biden should be in prison for war crimes for funding the murder of Palestinian children.
Why can't
we talk about that?
And so all the members of Congress. Yeah,
Dr. Boyce, you missed what we were saying at the beginning. This is not about politics. This is not about who was better, who was worse, how much he matches. It's actually about how much he is so egregiously above and beyond. He has psychological manifestation that is detrimental to everyone. Yes,
I'm not saying you're wrong, Chris. I would need to see something, just any piece of evidence at all, because
evidence of what?
He was there for 4 years. There was no wars. We weren't sending $100 billion to Ukraine. We weren't sending money. We weren't sending money to Israel to blow up Palestinians. I'm not saying that Trump is okay. I'm just saying, what if he was going to do all this? Why didn't he do it in 2017?
Okay, boys. Let me just explain to you why. The very first time Trump got in office, it's the different circumstance than now. Because the first time he did not win the popular vote.
And
the first time it was this rumor that the only reason why he won was because of Russia, because Russia intervened. So it was tainted. His first presidency was tainted. Okay. And then he lost against Biden. So he had a vendetta. Okay. He really wanted to run against Biden because he wanted to beat Biden, because he was mad at that. The fact that he lost, never even actually admitted that he lost, which is problematic in so many different ways. But I think this time he feels a rush. This is different from the first presidency, because this time there's a sense of a rush in him where he's just like, okay, you know what? Everybody bow down to me. Everybody bow down to me. Everybody come and meet me. I mean, Elon Musk has all but moved in with him. They're like roommates at this point, having a very intimate relationship with each other. So it's a whole different scenario now, because this time he won the popular vote. He has galvanized his cult that he is in. It is a cult. This is unlike anything that we've ever seen before. This is a cult.
It is.
Okay.
So,
I'm not saying you're not right. I just think Democrat and Republicans are both cults. I just feel that way.
Lord
I felt like I was in the middle.
All right, let's wrap this up.
When you were banned, when the FBI is banning,
you think there was a cult of Biden?
Harvard doctors. I'm
Biden had a
literally
cult?
telling you
I mean,
that
seriously,
ivermectin
boys.
is a horse fertilizer, even though ivermectin was like, doctors were curing COVID and they were literally banning your Twitter account if you said that there was the treatment other than anything Dr. Fauci said, even though it's been proven that fucking guy was lying his ass off the entire time. Like, seriously, like, but no, really. But
it was about the system, boys. It was about upholding the system.
I'm sorry, the system.
The man was not lying. The man was not lying.
And then
the Tuskegee experiment came from the system. You know, I don't trust the system.
But here's the thing. What was Trump saying? What was Trump saying that what can happen to cure?
That makes sense.
Cure. He was saying put
injections, bleach.
And he never said it. He said that as a joke, and people ran with it, and they used propaganda.
He also said there was something else that could cure it.
You know, let me tell you, the biggest problem they had in this election was that Trump went on those podcasts, and when he went on those podcasts and went around mainstream media where they could not distort his words, their worst nightmare happened, and the worst nightmare was they found out, okay, maybe this guy isn't as horrible as we thought he was. They got to hear his words from his mouth. And so I'm not here to say
media is the problem that America has.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say this. I talked to black folks on the ground in Chicago. They're pissed off about the fact that the city let in a ton of people illegally and put them in black neighborhoods and gave them resources that black people couldn't even get access to. I talked to a young brother who dropped me. Well, let me say, the brother who drove me in the Uber to get here from the trip I just took. He said, I had to vote for Trump because the economy and the inflation had gotten so bad, I was going out of business, and I knew that nobody cared. And he said that his girlfriend, he said, my girlfend's mad at me.
Well, Donald Trump cares about his business.
Right, he doesn't care. But what happened though? I'm talking about
the reality is going to set in pretty soon.
I'm talking about how they gave Trump the White House. They gave it to him
because they are stupid.
They were ignoring people. People were mad about the immigrants. People were mad about the inflation. People were mad about a lot of stuff. And they just said, well, whatever. Like, you're wrong.
And then their dad, Donald Trump, is going to magically make everything all right.
Well, he's not going to make it all right. But I think that a lot of people that I know that voted for him, they just said we're tired of the same stuff, and it can't be any worse than what we've already gotten. Maybe you all will be correct. Maybe it will be. Maybe he's going to become Hitler tomorrow and decide to just murder 5 million people. And if that's the case, then I will come back here and I will apologize from the bottom of my heart. How about that?
Dr. Boyce, you know that's not right, because even if you went back and look at Hitler, it didn't happen overnight. So come on now.
It happened pretty quickly. I will tell you that.
Quickly, but it wasn't overnight. And you know what? Again, it's not. Let's go back. It's not about Republicans and Democrats. It's not about, arguing about Trump becoming like Hitler. It's about the fact that his behaviors are showing certain flags. How do we deal with that? How do we deal with that if our worst predictions come to fruition? And what's our predictions based upon? History. What is the best predictor of future behavior? Past behavior. Okay. So that's what I want to bring. Can we bring it back to that? Like, I
have studied all the 47, all the 45, all the 44 presidents. Because Grover Washington, Grover Cleveland came twice, and Trump is the same thing. So I've studied all the 45 presidents, and I teach them in policy class. I have never seen anybody that looks like this guy.
Thank you.
Well, you know,
listen. He's the annus horribilis.
Well, I'm gonna give you that point. He's definitely different. There's no question about that.
No, he didn't say different. You need to listen, boys. He said he is the worst.
Okay. And I think that, and then the problem is that 100 million people disagree with you. So what are you going to do about that?
That's okay.
But that would be my question. Like, are you going to do exactly what they accuse you of doing?
No,
what they accuse you of doing is they believe that the people on the left are so elitist that they just look at everyone's opinion and they say, "You people
let's just don't get offended because I know it's.
There are three sides. There are three sides to the truth. There are three sides to the truth. Yours, mine, and the truth. It doesn't matter what you say. The truth remains in between. So 100 million people can still be wrong.
Yes, absolutely.
Apartheid South Africa. It was only Nigeria.
But can you be wrong?
Hold on,
let me ask about you, Buster.
Yes,
absolutely. Can you be wrong about this? What if this guy goes in the White House and fixes the country in some way?
Wait, boys.
No, he can't. He's not capable.
He's not. Why not? I just want to know. I'm asking as a person, and I know people think. As a black person, the Democrats feel like that they have black people under such slavery that they tell us if you don't vote for us, that's like a vote for Trump, and you're a traitor. So I have people all the time that accuse me of voting for Trump, and I tell them to kiss my ass because my vote belongs to me. You're not going to tell me what to do. I did not vote for either one. But I'm just serious though. What I see is tremendous bias.
Dr. Boyce, Dr. Boyce, don't tell me who you are. Show me who you are. When he won the election in 2016, I wasn't happy, but I said, leave this guy alone. Perhaps he might surprise you. I am not ready to mortgage my existence on that premise any longer because he had 4 years to prove that he is incompetent, that he is not there. And then the other people who also voted for them have proven to me that they have no capacity to engage in critical thinking and evaluate cause and effect. I'm always wrong, but I have seen this consecutively that I am not wrong. It was like when Benjamin Netanyahu said, we are going to kill all Hamas people. And I said, you can't. Because Hamas is an ideology that represents 75 years of emasculation. What happened? Today, there is a make-believe peace treaty, and Hamas is still there. So, essentially speaking, Trump has no capacity. Even if he does, he has people who think differently, and those people are there to use Trump as a leverage. And it all revolves around white supremacy. Period.
Okay, and I don't doubt that. I'm sure that there are people that I'm a black nationalist. I'm Malcolm X. Malcolm X could sit down with a Klansman and have no problem having a conversation to basically talk about the obvious. The obvious is you have your power, you have your stuff. We want our stuff. Leave us alone. We'll leave you alone. I'm okay with that. I fit that mold. I've never been in the mold of saying that my life is going to be any different because a white man likes me or doesn't like me. Sure, if you're talking about something like police shootings or the abuses that happen in the criminal justice system, that's an obvious example where that would apply. But I can just tell you, as a man who talks to lots and lots of black males, speaking specifically about African-American males, most African-American males I know that get up every day and think about the things that stress them out the most, it's not police shootings. That's some liberal shit. That's some stuff the Democrats love to talk about because it fits their narrative. What they are thinking about are economic opportunities and economic possibilities. They're talking about
lots of liberals who talk about economic opportunities.
But what I'm saying is that
you make no false.
I hear you, but what I'm saying is
not on board with white people.
That maybe rather than walking away.
This is my issue is that you make these statements to be like not one such and liberal person feels this way, and that's inaccurate.
Well, I wouldn't say not one. I'm just gonna tell you why I have a lot of black male friends who did actually go out and vote for Trump, and a lot of black female friends who did too.
I know it's your parents' voice.
I'm just telling you. I know lots of. I know, and I'm gonna tell you the biggest mistake that the Democrats are making is they don't listen to those people. They ignore them. And this election, this whole inauguration, is in your face, telling you that these 100 million people are out there, whether you want to acknowledge them or not. When you dismiss them and act like, oh, y'all are just stupid. He's clearly a Hitler. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Right, I get it.
That's the whole topic of today's conversation, boys.
I hear you,
it's
but
raising awareness.
I hear you, babe.
Dr. Boyce, every single day since I knew you, you are fixated on the betterment of your family. And that's what you do. This black male, I want you to show me their families. They believe that they have lost their masculinity and their penis have shrunk. And they think that Trump is going to restore it for them. They are not going to school. They are not looking for jobs. They are not bettering themselves. Their women are going to school and earning degrees and earning money. And they believe that they have been threatened by the intellectual development of their women. That's why we have them. And that's why Trump was never involved with his family. He just threw money at them whenever he liked. And then he would go out and hang with prostitutes.
Well, I would certainly say that will be true for the men that follow the dumbass rappers and those stereotypes of black males that are out there. But I think the men that I know are honorable men who do want to educate themselves, who do work hard, who are not threatened by the success of women. They just want to have their opportunities too. And the reality is that you and Alicia both work at a campus at a university that does not hire black professors. So I'm sitting here as a black man with a PhD. I know for a fact that if I tried to apply, I did apply for a job at your school years ago before Alicia and I even dated. She didn't even know it. And they looked at my credentials. They said, they're great, but you're not a good fit. And so this same experience.
Why did they
hire you? But you're not African-American, Buster. You're from another country. They look at African black men differently from the way they look at African-American black men. African-American black men have been typecast as goofballs, rappers, baby daddies, basketball players, and comedians. They look at black people from other countries as a substitute. That's why Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Was there anything they did by an act of omission or commission that gave them that level?
Yeah. I think you're very qualified for your position. So don't take that personally at all. But I'm gonna tell you, Ketanji Brown Jackson is not African American. That's how she got on the Supreme Court. They've never put an African American woman on the Supreme Court because they are afraid of African Americans, because African Americans are going to bring reparations and put it in their face. They don't want to deal with that stuff. They don't want to deal with it.
Well, wait, hold on. Biden did appoint African American women to
they never even put a woman until Sandra Day O'Connor by Reagan. So it's not necessarily about black African American. It's about the fear that they have lost their masculinity and they need to regain it through somebody who is not present in the life of his family.
Well, I will agree with you that there's a lot of frustration among some men that I've heard in terms of them not really feeling respected in their homes or in the workplace or in society. Right. That could be true. You are right. And I agree with you. I think that if they look at Trump as kind of a panacea to that will be wrong. But when I look, for example, at the guys over at Earn Your Leisure, who are black males who run one of the biggest financial platforms in the world, like their conference, they have 20,000 people there, a lot of black men there that are interested in wealth building, stuff like that. They were going to interview Kamala Harris, I think, on their platform, and the men rebelled. The men got really angry because they really don't feel loved by anybody. They don't feel respected by anybody. And they said, look, if you do this, we're walking away. So what's happened is that a lot of the men feel they don't have any friends and they've got to go build something of their own. And to be honest with you, that's the message I've been sharing.
They should first begin to build their families. They should start just the way you are toiling every day to maintain your family. They should try that. Maybe you need to talk to them to go back first.
Remember, most of the guys I meet are building their families, and they're trying to build their families, but there's frustration. Sometimes they can't. Sometimes they're dealing with women.
Remember a few years ago?
Well,
remember a few years ago when my adult daughter went back to medical school.
Yeah,
You
wait, say
knew
it again?
how I struggled to raise the money, close to
Yeah.
$500,000.
Right.
And I didn't have an obligation to pay those tuition and everything that it cost her to get to medical school. They should go back and at least be present in their family system first, and then come to talk to me later.
And I do agree with you, and I think, but remember, I don't want to assume that all the black men don't want to be with their families, right? That would be a horrible stereotype, right? So we can't assume that, but there is some work to do, because what's happened is there's been a conspiracy between liberals and conservatives to really dehumanize the image of the black male. Like, even if you looked on the left, a lot of men were very frustrated by the fact that Kamala Harris didn't want to hear from black male scholars like me. But she had Megan Thee Stallion twerking on stage at her rally in a space that could have been held by somebody like Dr. Claude Anderson to talk about black economics.
I agree with you. I really feel like there was a lot of things wrong with her campaign that could have been right. I mean, so there's a lot of criticism.
She had only 100 days.
Everywhere.
She only had 100 days.
She had 100 days. You know, I think she did a great job.
But she had time to twerk.
Well, she wasn't twerking. She was just trying to get people to perform. Go ahead, Chris.
But again, why are we assigning this? Why are we going back to this person and that person? Kamala and Biden and Trump and his. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Why do we keep going back to that? Because listen, I don't care what politician you bring up nowadays. I can guarantee you that they're likely, if they possibly had the minority or the disenfranchised or the oppressive groups in mind, they were from that group and they're going to be challenged by it. So challenged in moving forward with their agenda. So Boyce, what I'm saying with that is, I mean, we can say Republican, we can say Democrat. It's a big issue. It's an issue that's been for years and years, like you were explaining, right? So listen, this is not a conversation that Republicans don't have it because the Democrats do, or the Democrats have it because the Republicans don't, or whatever. This is really going back to that particular issue is not being solved right now, is not being addressed, is not even in the mindset of these leaders because they're too busy with their privileges dealing with other stuff. They're not even paying attention. I will guarantee you, again, when we started with this show was about the personality profile of this leader, and what it shows is no empathy and no ability to even think beyond their own self-interest. And this man who is now in office, his self-interest is so far from, I would venture to say, most of America, 70% or more. I mean, this man doesn't know the plight of any minority group, of being poor, of any oppressed group. So, and he doesn't have any empathy for them. And so I say this to appeal to you, Boyce, in the sense that, like, it really, at this point, isn't us saying, like, it should be Democrat or it should be Republican. It's so, like, I don't know, what would you say, above or like below? It's just, that's not even the issue. The issue is we're looking at someone who has now been elected in office that has these certain traits that are not good, looking forward for the sake of our nation.
What are those traits? Malignancy, manipulation, extreme paranoia, exploitation,
grandiosity, paranoia, aggressivity.
Go ahead.
Disposability. Yeah.
We have been able to see him and his behaviors.
Well,
that's
okay. Well, Well, I'm not going to argue with 3 therapists. I would be severely outnumbered on the mental health issue because I'd end up agreeing with you that I think a lot of these politicians are psychopaths or something.
We're
I
not
think,
talking
No, I
about
agree.
all of the politicians. We're talking about this one.
yeah,
Malignant
right.
narcissist.
And I think, but I do think if he was a Democrat, I don't know if this conversation will be happening, and that's the part that bothers me.
Yes, it would.
Yes, it would.
Because
Yes. If he was a
why did you
Democrat,
warn
this
us about the Democrats?
conversation would be happening, boys.
No. You said you had a duty to warn the public, and I respect that.
Anybody.
So I'm just curious to know why
We have a duty to warn you,
equally diligent
Dr.
duty. Hold on. I just want to know why there wasn't also a diligent duty to warn the public that you had a president with dementia.
We did a pillow talk about it.
Did you? Okay, if that's the
Yeah,
case.
we did.
And I would add, at this point, we're not talking about a president in office that has dementia only. We're talking about a man who has tendencies that will lead us to demise.
Yeah.
Don't mean to be dramatic.
And that's where I
disagree.
disagree. I disagree in the sense that the
Biden
last
is not
time
the
Trump was in
president
office,
now.
the last time
We got this on record.
I'm looking at facts. Let's look at facts and look at what actually happened. The first 4 years he was in office, there were no wars. All I know is Biden is sending millions of dollars to buy missiles for Israel so they can, or sorry, not Israel, I'm sorry, for the Ukrainians to provoke the Russians who have enough nukes to blow us off the face of the earth. The Russians are the only country, or one of the only countries that has hypersonic missiles. We do not have those. They can
They have more nuclear warheads than we do.
They could wipe Chicago and New York off the map in a second if they ever provoke Vladimir Putin. My simple position is I don't give a damn. Well, hold on. Yeah, right. And my thing is I don't give a damn about Ukraine. I don't understand why we're supposed to suddenly care about this war. I don't know why you want to send missiles so they can go poke at Vladimir Putin the bear. I don't want to do that.
That's a whole nother.
So if Trump continues to do the same thing Biden did in that particular area, then yeah, I will be disappointed. I'll be like, what are you doing? Yeah. I don't. So I just think that when you talk about things that are going to lead to our demise, it's like, well, you're already putting us on the brink of nuclear war by messing with Russia.
Voice.
What more could be worse than that?
Trump is a predator. He's an inveterate liar. He is a felon. There is no equivalency anywhere.
So is Joe Biden. His whole family is they're all a bunch of criminals.
Boys.
The definition of a criminal is one who has been convicted of a crime.
Right, by the Democrats, by Democratic prosecutors.
It was tomorrow.
If you ask the public, do you think that these prosecutions were politically motivated? The overwhelming majority would say yes.
Because the public is now a legal expert.
You know
what are you talking about?
Alvin Bragg, Democrat. Fannie Willis, Democrat. Those are Democrats.
Okay, you got these people.
No, but what I'm saying is now they've made it work.
What should they do? What should you do?
No. What did Trump do?
Well, here's what's gonna happen. You're right. Trump does have mental health issues. He is petty. He is a narcissist. He is vengeful. He's gonna go back and start prosecuting people that were prosecuting him, and he has the majority of the American people behind him, because they saw what was going on. And it's one thing if you see someone, if there's a crime that's just horrible and egregious, I don't know, Nixon, the Watergate situation or something like that, then that makes sense for a prosecution. But when it's something like that, wait, you paid $50,000 to a porn star, nobody cares about who you had.
I don't care about that porn star. He kept and held up the investigation. He took secret documents from the White House, took it to Florida, did not even work with the people. But that's okay. It's okay.
I don't think any of it's okay. But here's how I would look at it. You remember at what is it? Jimmy Carter's funeral. Who was sitting there talking to Trump as if they were friends?
Oh, he was talking to. He was reading a coloring book. He was reading a coloring book for Donald Trump because he didn't know what was happening.
Yeah, but either way though, he was sitting there talking to
you can see
Barack Obama because there's an understanding in politics. I just think that those guys all understand when you get to a certain level, anybody can be prosecuted. The Obamas, if they wanted to send Barack Obama to prison tomorrow, they would. They could. If they wanted to send Michelle Obama to prison like tomorrow, they could.
For what?
I'm not even going to say it because I'm too close to it. But I will just tell you, there were some interesting things that happened during Obama's campaign that led to murder that could be linked back to his people. Now,
Obama did not kill anybody.
Boyce, I will tell you one thing. If it could be linked back to him, I guarantee you it would. I do not think we live in nobody's country. Wait, you're cutting me off. We don't live in anybody's country where a black man gets away with anything and we don't care. I guarantee you, if somebody could, they would take him.
But I'm gonna correct you. I'm gonna correct you on that, sweetheart. It's not every black man. It's the black man who doesn't play ball. Why do you think Snoop Dogg is performing at the inauguration?
Because he's more interested in money.
It ain't about the money, Chris.
Let me give you my think he's being exploited?
No. Is anyone aware of how many allegations that there have been made against Snoop that just didn't get the public attention because they were not picked up in mainstream media? Do you know how easy it would be for them to collude and to decide, oh, you're going to be the next Diddy because we're going to take these little cases and these allegations against you and suddenly make it like the biggest thing people talk about? How do you think they got Al Sharpton to go along with the Obama administration? Well, guess what? Al Sharpton, who is a federal informant, it's been proven, was on tape doing a drug deal. Once they get their claws in you, it's like, you better do what we say. And if you don't, then you're going to be investigated. Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, Democrat, doing great. Immigration thing happens. He says something out of line. Next thing you know, Eric Adams getting investigated. That's how they played this game. So when you
how do you know that it was associated with a comment that he made? Eric Adams was corrupt.
No, Eric Adams was
very much.
Eric Adams was a good boy. Eric Adams was their favorite boy until
he was a Republican before he became a Democrat.
When he complained about the Biden administration, a lot of people said, "Oh, that man's going to get cooked," because you cannot complain when you are a black Democrat at that level. You cannot say
Eric Adams was not a Democrat. He came to become a Democrat when he wanted to run in New York. He was a Republican.
Yeah, and he took bribes. He was bribing
I would
people.
tell you, Eric Adams, he got in trouble when he started complaining that the Biden administration wasn't giving him enough money to pay all the expenses.
That's not what happened.
No,
he wasn't. What happened.
Adams is a Republican.
How do you know this, boys?
First
of all, hold on. I just want to say, boys, I know you get your news from very conservative sources.
No, baby,
I know because I know.
I watch all the.
Don't cut me off. You do not watch. I know because I watch what you watch. Watch your feed. your social media feed is littered with all this Republican and conservative BS. And I venture that you need to branch out. Branch out and start looking at other sources.
Let me educate you on my feed.
I'm starting to think that you're part of the cult.
Okay, let me tell you what's on my feed. What's on my feed is
I know what's on your feed.
No. What's on my feed is a lot of pro-black.
We sleep together.
No. It's a lot of pro, but you're not in my feed. There's a lot of pro-black. No. It's very pro-black. And let me just tell you, the black community is getting more conservative. The black community.
No, the feed that you tune in.
No. Most of my friends are black people who voted for Obama, who have either left the Democrats.
No, that's people in your family.
Listen, most of my friends are people who voted for Obama.
It's people in his family.
Who either left and became independent or they became Republicans. One of the two. That's where my friends are. I didn't have a lot of Republican
Because
friends
these people are
before.
clueless. They are
You're
clueless.
talking about people in your family, boys. But what
Yeah.
I'm talking about, I see your feed. Your feed is Candace Owens all day long, and she gets on my
That
nerves.
one.
But I don't
Your
really
feed-
like Candace Owens. She's got that white husband.
You must have liked her because
I
she's
don't.
constantly on your feed,
No.
boys.
I don't. No, here's the thing. I don't.
Listen to
No.
Candace Owens.
No. I don't love her. Hate. I don't
Who
love her. Hate
Who is Candace Owen? She's useless.
Useless.
See, and that's the thing.
She's
That's the problem.
airhead.
That's the problem with your rhetoric. You would just define a complex.
I have
problem
listened
with
to her.
one thing.
I have
You
listened
can't
to her.
just
I
say
should
I
make
have
no
listened
sense.
to her
No,
too.
nuance. Nuance is the word.
No,
Candace
you
Owens-
remember,
no,
you remember that the
Here's
Republican
what
Party
Candace
kicked,
Owens is.
you know, they
Boys,
kicked her out.
Boys, you forget. You
Candace
forget.
Owens is a
You
very
forget
smart
that
young
I
woman
see.
who
She's
happens
not
to
smart.
have
She is not smart.
conservative opinions. That's
She
it.
is not smart.
Boys,
Can we get back to the topic?
I think Candace
boys,
is smart.
I have
Boys,
listened to
she
her.
is not smart.
She does not go along with the crowd. But and
No, it's not the
that's
crowd.
what makes some people hate her.
She did what Donald Trump did. Donald Trump knew that the only way he could get along was to join the Republican Party because they were stupid. Candace Owen decided that she was going to be the megaphone for the Republican Party because it will hold her in good stead and allow her to make money. Period.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I told you, Candace married a rich white boy, but talks about black families. She originally was a Republican operative who pretty much pointed out all the flaws in the Democratic Party so that they could get votes for the Republicans. But where I started to gain some respect for Candace is when she started to defy her Republican masters too, and when Ben Shapiro fired her from that publication that they work for.
Exactly.
I said, okay, she's a young woman that's 30 years old. She's still a baby in my mind. She's trying to find who she is. And I'm sorry,
Okay,
I'm not going
so
to.
just go ahead and say that you are a Candace Owens supporter, and that's why all those conservative.
What would make me, babe? I'm gonna ask you, what would make me a Candace? Are you an Umar Johnson supporter? Like, seriously, what makes me a Candace Owens supporter, babe? I've not sent her a nickel. I've never subscribed to her channel. But you know what? When Candace presents evidence that is logical.
She does not. I've listened to Candace Owens.
I don't live in an echo chamber in a cult. I don't do that. I don't do that cult like echo chamber where I just like
you do.
No. You people get mad at me because I'll listen to people on the right and people on the left.
No,
yes, I do.
When we do the all black
tell me who you listen to. Okay, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. Every year, I tell everybody.
No, hold on, boys.
Democrat. I don't care if you're Republican.
So
as long as you're black,
name a liberal that you listen to as much as you listen to Candace Owens. I don't listen to Candace Owens.
I don't even see Candace that much. I don't know how to find her show. I don't even listen to Candace.
I don't know why she comes up on your feed.
You know, I listen to Black Dot sometimes. I listen to.
That's because I turned you on to Black Dot.
I listen to people who talk about AI. I listen to that. I listen to people who are talking. I listen to mainstream news like NBC or ABC. I don't do CNN. I don't do MSNBC. I don't do Fox because that's all propaganda. I get my information from mostly the most direct source, PBS.
He gets his
Owens. It's
the New York Post.
It's smart in that she
the
found the same source of pot of gold that Donald Trump.
I think that our country lacks critical thinking skill. I just think that. I think that people don't have to. Remember, I came from when I was in academia, we would debate each other all day and have differences of opinion, and you didn't get offended by it. You look for people who had a different opinion. You didn't run from them and say, "Oh, you're stupid," or "Oh, he's just a big dummy." If you say something like that, that reveals the fact that you haven't thought through the argument. So if you just define Candace Owens in one sentence, that means
because I have listened to her.
I have listened to Candace Owens. What you just described is freaking our president.
What's that? Describe what?
Candace Owens.
Just go ahead and rewind what you just said. I wasn't even thinking about Candace Owens. What you just described is someone who's not willing to collaborate, someone who's not trusting, all that. What you just described is what we were saying at the beginning of this call or beginning of this show is the flags of a malignant narcissist leader that we are dealing with right now.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that even therapists can have a blind spot, especially if they have a liberal bias or a conservative bias.
Okay.
And I'm not
let me hit this.
because like literally, like I'll tell you,
we have assessments. We have assessments. You know, I wanted to make a point of that during our show, that a lot of people don't understand the mental health field, and they do tend to think that we're just working off opinions of what we think. No, we have the most evidence-based tools. And let me tell you something. There was tools that they sent that they did an assessment, evidence-based standardized tools. Standardized meaning is on the population that you're studying, because there are cultural differences. And they still found that there was an issue. Actually, I'm trying to look for it. Two assessments they did: violence risk appraisal, violence risk appraisal guide, and psychopathy checklist revised. Those are 2 standardized evidence-based. My point is, we're not talking about opinions. And I think a lot of people who don't understand the mental health field think we're just coming with our opinions or what we thought or the people we talk to. No, we're not dealing off of anecdotal. We're dealing off of research-based information.
Okay. So what if so I'm going to give you that, right? For 100%. Complete respect for what you all do.
Thank you.
Now the way you all know therapy, I know finance. I'm a scholar, PhD. I was the only African American on the entire planet to get a PhD in finance in the year 2002. I state that for a reason, because I know my shit. Now, if I was to come in, what if I was to come in and say, yeah, whatever you might say about Trump's psychological issues, or it could be real, but I've done my assessment as an expert in my field, and me and my colleagues, who happen to most of the colleagues in finance are Republicans, have concluded that the American people will be better off economically for sure with a couple of CEOs running the country. Would you automatically buy that assessment, or what would you say based on that? And I'm gonna shut my door. I'm listening.
Sorry, I want to speak first. I would say that's exactly what we're asking for. There needs to be a discussion. There needs to be a discussion, because yes, economics is clearly important to the people of the United States. We've dealt with inflation. We're dealing with I'm not a political person, but we're dealing with, the decreasing of the middle class. So yeah, I would be like, yes, I love that. And that's exactly what we wish this current president will do. And it's not in his profile.
Okay, and here's my challenge with that. Here's why I think that would be wrong for you to just accept my assessment just because I'm an expert in the field. Just like I can't just accept your assessment just because I agree you're an expert. It's because I know scholars, I know PhDs, and I know that we can be affected by our political bias. That's my point. Like you can't, if I come in with a bunch of jacked up economists from Harvard and say, as economists and as experts, we all came to the same conclusion that this policy, trickle down economics, is going to be good for America, which is what they did actually. And you don't stop. No one stops and says, hey, but wait a minute. Most of you all are Republicans. That means that what you're saying should be questioned and scrutinized.
Everything should be questioned and scrutinized.
Right. So here's what I'm saying. What I'm saying
We've
is
had this conversation.
Right, and I get it, babe, but I want you to flip my argument. Flip it in your direction. What I'm saying is that social work
began in the 20s.
Right, but you're not letting me finish my point. Y'all aren't listening. Y'all doing a lot of talking, but I need y'all to listen.
Yeah,
what I'm saying is that most people in social work are Democrats. And that political bias is probably going to play some part in how you assess. Even when you use the most precise scientific tools, science is subject to personal biases. That's just like in finance.
The thing is that you have to. Here's the thing: it's still up for critique. Here's what irritates me about what you're saying. if I'm making an evidence-based assessment and you just look at it and go, I don't agree with it. You can't just not agree with it because you don't like what I'm saying. Take something else that's evidence-based and say, oh, I got this information that's been studied. You can't just look at, oh, 2 + 2 is going to be 5. And that's my opinion. Well, you know, that's not about your opinion. We're talking about science. We're talking about math. And so that's the problem with it. You can't just look at information in evidence-based, like what Chris said, evidence-based stuff, and just say, I disagree with it. And it's just like, okay, good. You disagree with it. Let's have a conversation about what you disagree with.
I agree 100%.
All you got to say is, it don't feel right to me.
So let's talk
specifically. Let's talk specifically. That's not enough to hold water, boys.
I hear you. I hear you. So let's talk specifically about your prediction that Trump is going to be the next Hitler, possibly. I can look at evidence and say that I've seen no evidence of that. I followed this man 35 years. Never once did he build a single concentration camp. Never once
did he building one tomorrow.
No, he's not. No, his policy.
How do you eliminate an entire group of people without building concentration camps, boys?
Alicia, if you don't have the right
what is your definition of concentration camp?
I just got back from Denmark and they stopped me at the border and said, show your papers to make sure you're allowed to be here. They don't let people just come in their country like unabashedly.
That's not
what does that have to do with?
That has nothing to do.
What does that have to do?
I'm trying to figure out where these concentration camps are at. That's what I'm
looking. No, listen. Remember the separation of children.
Wow.
I mean, show me the concentration camps. American citizens being put in concentration. Show me. I can show you where Biden built his. His was called the prison industrial complex. That was his concentration camp. Show me Trump's. I'm not saying Trump's a good guy.
I'm not going to show you Trump's, but I will. I'm not going to show you Trump's, but I will tell you there were Japanese internment camps, not like Hitler, not that long ago.
So that's what
it is not that far-fetched, boys. And it's not the idea. Come on, man. You're a scientist. You're proactive.
So that's my question, though. Show me the evidence. You talked about evidence.
I just gave you the evidence. There is no such thing as mass deportation without concentration camps. There's no such thing. In order to mass deport a bunch of people, which he just signed today, there's going to be active tomorrow.
Is he going to come deport us?
Wait a minute, boys. It's going to be active tomorrow. You can't do it without.
Does anybody remember how he collected families and separated them from their parents?
Yeah, Joe Biden did that. I know a lady whose father just came home after 40 years because Joe Biden separated their family 30 years ago. I mean, but yeah, keep going.
Yeah, but you saw what he did when he was president. He separated families and children most of the children haven't met their families.
It don't make no sense.
Most of the children are still, some of the children still, they can't account for them today.
But here's what concerns me, right? Like
this is accurate. Obama was deporting people.
If I go to any country in the world and I just break in and I got my family and then they send us home and they separate us on the way out, I don't think anybody's going to be saying that's not right to do. They're going to say you shouldn't have been here. This is not your country. You should.
No, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that.
Like, really,
it has to be humane things. And I'm glad Greg brought this up because I was disappointed in what Barack Obama was doing in terms of what he was doing with immigrants and people who were here on asylee. When you're here on asylee and you're here as a refugee, you're not illegal. I did not like what Barack Obama was doing either.
And if your intention is to file for protection, you are not illegal. And that includes using a fake passport.
Yes.
That's not criminality.
It's
not. The essence of it's not. The essence of this, essentially speaking, is that the intent to file for a refugee status
Alicia keeps putting negative comments on the screen so she can try to show me that people are against me. But she doesn't understand her husband well enough to know that I don't give a shit what people think. I share my opinion honestly.
Well, these are comments that happen to be coming up.
Yeah, you can keep doing that. You can keep going with the propaganda, but because I've seen it before.
Dr. Boyce,
Takes one to know one.
Dr. Boyce, let me ask a question. We are now talking about illegal immigration, and the people who you're calling illegal, this was their land that you stole. How many white people who came here originally came with a visa? The white people who came from England, how many of them came with a visa?
I think that's a great point. And I don't doubt what you're saying. I'm just gonna say, I care about the Black community. I don't care a lot about white people. And in my opinion, there are things that are owed to African Americans that don't get repaid because we are giving so many resources to people that just got here. And I think that was a deliberate strategy to water down our percentage of the population. They owe us $13 trillion in reparations. They have not paid it. But yet when another 10 million people come across the border illegally, suddenly they've got billions of dollars to allocate to them because maybe they want their votes. I have no idea what they're doing, but I'm not playing that game.
You need to check the facts. You need to check the facts.
Why don't you find out
if you really honestly think that someone crosses this border and suddenly has all of these health cares when we have family members that have lived here and are citizens who can't get health care, you are listening to untruths.
Untruths, boys.
So you gotta okay. So you're telling me that
the evidence that these immigrants are getting all of
they're
these.
Not.
They can't even work. They can't show me the evidence.
Okay, boys. Here's a fact. Here's a fact, boys. Here's a fact.
She asked me a question, but you won't even let me answer the question.
I'm not. I just want to give you facts.
A little too loud. Your cultish thinking is a little too loud. You're out talking me. She asked me a question. I'd like to answer.
Okay, go ahead and answer. But I do want to.
Don't act like you didn't out talk us. But go ahead.
Well, here's what I pointed to. Here's what I saw. Mayor Eric Adams went on The View. And he basically said that the city has a massive budgetary challenge, partly because they needed $6 billion to accommodate all of the, I'm not going to say illegal, whatever you want to call it, individuals that might be called illegal, whatever. Migrants, right. That he said it was not in the budget. And the federal government, the Biden administration gave him $250 million. It cost $6 billion, and that put them in a massive financial hole. That is my evidence. Now, do I think that they get the red carpet rolled out for them? No. Do I have anything against the individuals that are coming here for a better life? No, I do not. But I'm going to tell you, as a Black American, I have seen the decline in our wealth, the decline in Black quality of life, the inability of Black people to get any attention or any resources that are owed to us. But yet it seems like there's so much attention given to other people, and I do resent that. I resent that a lot.
I do want to say that people who come here as migrant workers, they have to pay taxes that they'll never be able to declare. They have to pay into Social Security that they will never ever be able to draw down. So they are boosting.
And they do the job that you have
America. And they do the job. Think about Ohio. The reason why Ohio, when Donald Trump was talking about Haitians were eating cats. I mean, that should have been enough to get him disqualified. When he was doing that, the reason why they were putting Haitians in those areas in Ohio and other places is because they needed people to do the jobs that nobody wanted to do. They could not get enough workers to do those types of jobs, but only migrant workers were doing it. U.S. citizens were like, I'm not doing that crap. Black people for sure wouldn't be picking nothing. We ain't picking no tomatoes. We ain't doing nothing. We'd rather stand on the corner and be working in the field. We just can't do that. So that's why they were hiring those people to come in and do the work that nobody wanted to do. to get no benefit.
So you really feel like black people don't want it. So I mean, but really,
No,
so
they don't.
you really feel like
Black people do not.
but you're saying that the jobs that like there's a lot of jobs in say Chicago that black people used to have.
I'm talking about Ohio and those places.
Or Ohio and
they
other
were
places.
doing work,
black
construction and stuff like that. The black people won't.
Okay,
do.
but I'm really asking you, like you really think black people just don't want to work? Like you really think
black people don't want to work. I said they did not want to work.
That's not what she said.
That's what she said. I said they didn't want to do that job.
They don't want to work for free.
Psychologically,
or less than minimum wage. Less than minimum wage.
Here's what's happening: the capitalists have taken advantage of illegal labor because what the illegal population, what the oversupply of labor allows them to do, is to allow the same job to exist, but to pay an under market wage.
Yes.
Well, Americans have never said but Americans have never said we don't want to do that job. They just said we don't want to do that job for $8 an hour.
They don't want to listen. They don't want to do. No. That's not true. That's not true. They didn't. Yeah, it is partly because of the pay, but I think the real issue is employers. It's the corporations who's paying little or nothing. Because I don't think black people are going to be standing in line going to pick tomatoes. Given our history in this country, we are not going to be like, I'll pick tomatoes in the farm.
But I've known black people who've done
do that.
But I've known black people who've done those jobs. So I
don't know anybody.
If you pay them what you pay an illegal immigrant, then they're not going to do the job. But if they were paid a living wage, they would probably a lot of people would do
that's possible. But the thing is that that's where. So boys, you've identified, if you were in Dr. Buster's policy class, you would have identified a solution. A solution is for the government to put more pressure on corporations to give a healthier wage so that we don't have to go and get migrant workers to do these jobs. That's what we do in social work. We want people like that, think like that, to be in political offices, to try to make macro level changes. This is what we do in social work.
Not only pay them living wage, also pay them benefits.
Yes.
Like healthcare.
Yes. And if you really care about reproductive rights, those conservatives, if you really care about reproductive rights, you would also work for corporations to give paid leave, like every other developed nation.
Because in Canada, you can take 20 months with pay.
Thank you. With paid leave. That's the best thing you can do. If you really care about mothers and babies and all of that, talking to somebody who had 3 children and had 0 time off with pay.
And guess what? The government exploits that. So he's gonna remove all those people that the government has exploited all this time. What do you think's gonna happen? You really think they're gonna be like, oh, the rest of you oppressed groups, we're gonna raise the minimum wage for you and treat you better? No, they're just gonna exploit those groups in the same way. Not to say that, that's why we would keep the policy of immigrants here. But I'm saying, let's not be
I'm gonna put it on the screen.
I'm gonna put that up there.
Dr. Boyce, you lose. Well, the thing is, I'm not here to win or lose. Because I think that when we don't listen to each other, we all lose, right? And I personally will say, I think the world needs social workers, and I respect what social workers do. My mother, who just passed 2 weeks ago, is a social worker, and bless her heart. So I'm very sensitive and respectful of what social workers do. I would just say, I came to the conclusion that social work can't save the Black community. It can help in certain areas for sure, but we've had social work for a long time. What we haven't had is economic strength.
Well, what social work does is empower groups. We don't do anything for anybody.
I agree 100%, but I remember...
And social work is brand new, actually. It wasn't until the progressive era that social work as a profession came. Consider that, and consider economics or physics or mathematics that have existed from the period of Euclid. So it's still brand new. Social work doesn't want to save the world. It wants to save one person. who is
Yeah,
vulnerable.
and I appreciate that. I really do. I think that overall, I think that when we get to where we reduce to calling our opponents names and just saying, oh, that person's Hitler, that person's terrible, that person's crazy, that person's stupid, he's going to do these terrible things. I think that, to me, I'm looking for a more nuanced conversation, right? I want to understand how this man became so powerful, why he's, and he didn't become powerful.
Because he's white and he's rich.
That's not true, though, because there's lots of rich white men who are not that powerful. There are rich white men who bow to this guy. So he's been powerful for 45 years. Yeah. Whiteness does not do that.
And he's a man. His father gave him a small loan of $2 million. I don't know how many my dad or your dad gave to you.
Right.
That amount of money when he did.
Just all that is economic decision making.
And he used all the loopholes that he could find. He was only in his lifetime. He has only paid $750.
Well,
as taxes, and he declared it. What he did was that he is smart. He tapped on the level of illiteracy. 35% of Americans with high school diploma read at 5th grade level, and the man knew it. So I will grant him that he is smart, because he is a malignant, narcissistic, personality disordered individual.
And remember, though, they diagnose black men a lot too. I was diagnosed in school, ADHD, borderline retarded. Everybody's getting diagnosed.
You don't think ADHD was accurate?
Whatever it is, all I'm saying is that I tell my people, rather than sitting around being mad because Trump is taking care of his family, why not take care of yours? His father Fred
was not taking care of his family.
His father Fred.
That's what we're saying. You tell those black people who vote for them.
A poor man. Fred Trump was a poor kid with a single mother. Fred Trump made a simple decision. He decided to get into real estate. He said, instead of working for people and looking for jobs, fixing up apartments, I want to go buy one. So because he bought an apartment, he then got into real estate. That's how he built his wealth and was able to provide for his children.
Yeah, but as far as I'm concerned, that's not success.
But you can't tell me that
you can do that is not
whatever it is. All I'm going to say is you're not going to tell me that a white man can go provide for his kids, but I got to wait on the goddamn social worker. That ain't happening. I'm not doing that. I want to go provide everything that Fred Trump did.
Most people don't even.
For Donald. I want to compete with Donald Trump. I don't want to bow to him or be afraid of him. I want to compete with the Barron Trumps. I want my children prepared to compete with white folks. We spend too much time being scared and mad and hurt and sad that we don't spend time building and preparing.
Tell the black men who come to you to take care of their family first.
And I do, and they do. They do, and that's the thing. And this is something we definitely align upon. They will go in, and these are the liberals and the conservatives. They'll go out and put these buffoonish Negroes on TV, these dumbass rappers who hate black women, who get high and drunk all the time, who throw their money away, who want to be as ignorant as possible, who rap about killing black people. And those same people that claim to be your allies are at a concert cheering while the rapper is holding his testicles, calling himself a nigga. You ain't my friend if you think that that's okay. But they're those same folks, those same people who will scream Black Lives Matter are the same ones who will cheer when Snoop Dogg comes in talking about, we don't love these hoes and I shot a nigga today. They like that stuff. So
who likes it? Because social workers don't.
Go to any Snoop Dogg concert and look at how many white people are in the audience. Go to any concert of any rapper who's degrading himself and his family and spreading bad culture to the black community. Go look at that concert and look at how many white people put
It's spreading badness to all communities.
He just performed over here for the Olympics, right? And he has changed his image. He's refined his image. Okay, so he doesn't really talk like that or rap like that unless he's doing his old,
I saw him perform. I'm gonna tell you, Chris, I saw him perform at the Trump ball, and he said the word nigga right in that room full of white people. Like, I'm a cold nigga.
Disagreeing with you, boys.
Let me be clear. Let me be clear.
Go
Wait,
watch
I
it.
just want to say I
Let me
gotta
be-
go. I'm leaving because I gotta do my boot camp tomorrow.
Okay.
Unless I sleep in.
So you were right, Buster, about black men needing to do the things, taking care of family and all that, and it becomes harder for me to get my message out because so many men are tainted by the message that they are financing, and that's what bothers me. Because black men ain't built like that.
Everybody follow me on
Maybe you
Instagram.
need to bring me out. Maybe you need to bring me along the next time you meet them.
Yeah, I'll tell you, and I'll tell you all about what I see. So anyway,
Wait,
y'all
let me put a quote up real quick. Thank you, Sasha.
Yeah.
I agree.
Before we are done,
on fire as always.
I want to use this opportunity of the crowd we have to express our sincere and very heartfelt condolences to Dr. Boyce. I have lost my mom, and I know how he feels.
I appreciate that.
And we sincerely, weep for what, your mom would have, because she was quite young. And we thank God for the fact that she was able to raise somebody as ebullient, as intelligent, as resourceful, and as resilient as you are. We love you, and we love your mom, and that the legacy she's left in the and her footprints in the sands of time will last a lifetime. Our sincerest condolences.
Thank you, Buster. I appreciate you saying that, and thank you also, Chris. I appreciate it. It's good to see both of you again.
Yeah,
that was very nice.
We going to bed? Let's go to bed.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.